This season is surely gonna break me. I'm gonna be honest, when I ventured on this journey to recap every single season of Sci-Fi's The Magicians, I forgot about how much I hated season 2. It's honestly for the best that we're touching base here right now, because I needed the refresher. I forgot so much about what happened this season, so enjoy. In case you're just joining us, hi, my name is Ella, and for my roommate's birthday, I promised that I would make a Mike's Mike style recap YouTube video of Sci-Fi's The Magicians. Turns out, this show's a little complicated. About a month ago, I put out a recap of season 1 that ended up taking 3 hours for me to get through, and that's just the edited version. There were many nights that I spent alone in this room talking to a camera. If you have not seen that video, I highly recommend going to watch it beforehand, because honestly, you'll need the backstory in order to keep up. If you don't have the 3 hours to spare, and I understand if you don't, we'll go through a little bit of the history. We'll catch you up to speed, and then we'll jump into season 2. Also, while you're here, you should subscribe to me. If you're a returning friend, you can see that I have not updated the mental illness wall that's behind me. There's a very specific reason for that, and that reason is that I don't have a printer. Instead, I will be displaying pictures. Hopefully they're in focus. We'll see. The main characters that you need to know about are Quentin Coldwater, who is main character man, Alice Quinn, who is Hermione Granger but blonde, Margot and Elliot, they're old, they're fabulous, they may have just conquered a new realm. Penny can teleport, Katie is hot, Julia is on the struggle bus. Last we left these characters, they had gone to face off the season 1 villain, quote, the Beast, who was revealed to be none other than Martin Chatwin. There was a lot of lore on why Martin is a villain, and there's a lot of reasons why I don't necessarily love what they did with his character, but that's for the season 1 video, I guess. Alice had recently drank, and this is a real plot point, god jizz in order to have god magic so that she could fight the Beast. But at the last minute, everything went sideways, and when they tried to confront him, it was in fact Julia who held him at magic knife point. Turns out she had been recently sexually assaulted by a trickster god named Reynard, and she wants the Beast's help to kill him. Alright, welcome to The Magicians, season 2. So we're in the cabin. Alice is using her god magic to heal everybody after the Beast, KO'd literally everybody. Julia and the Beast are long gone at this point. Alice is incredibly in her feelings at the moment because she totally fumbled the bag, and Margot is queen of the We Should Kill Julia brigade. Also, and this is so important, Penny doesn't have hands anymore. So if you remember the wellspring as a concept, it was the thing that the Beast was drinking out of that's kind of like the source of all magic, and that's what's been giving him all of these powers, right? So the Goober Gang's new plan is, in order to take down the Beast, they all have to be on his level, and the way they're going to do that is they're all going to start drinking from the wellspring so that they can all get a little power up. However, they go to take a little sippity sip, and just the second that they stick their hand in it, Fillory just starts a rumbling. Again, this is the source of all magic in the universe, and the Beast has already been drinking it since the 40s, maybe. We're running on empty a little. Back in New York, Julia and the Beast blip into a child's playground, ? I don't know. They do a really weird thing with Martin where they're like, but what if he was one of those crazy villains who's got childhood whimsy? And it's like, dude, what matters is the two of them do this thing called an unbreakable bond. Basically, it's a magical contract that literally cannot be broken. So they agree that Martin is going to help Julia kill Reynard. And then only after Reynard is killed, Julia's going to give him the Leo Blade, which, remember, is the only thing that can kill the Beast. Back in Fillory, the Goober Gang decides that they're going to go meet up with Elliot at the castle and they run into Fen, and it's a different Fen actress, and don't worry about it. The new Fen actress is like a lot better than the old one. We love new Fen, okay? They're like, okay, we don't have as much magic as the Beast does, but maybe we can find better spells, right? So they go to this thing in Castle Whitespire called the Armory, and it's a library. It's, I don't know, guys, Lev Grossman really like outdid himself with the childhood whimsy, and I don't care for it, okay? Anyway, before they can get into the Armory, they actually have to be crowned High Kings and Queens, so they have to take a detour and go get the crowns, and I wouldn't include it in the video, but the scene is really, really cute, so I wanted to talk about it, okay? While they're, like, trying to figure out where they need to go, Penny is like, alright, fuck this, I'm going to get my hands fixed. So there's a magical river called Chatwin's Torrent that has healing properties in it. Like, we vaguely talked about this in season 1 when Elliot was like, I'm depressed. Maybe if I drink from this river, I won't be depressed anymore. Guess who's not going to the river? Anyway, Penny brings Margot and they go to Chatwin's Torrent to try to fix his hands. He's going to try and drink from it so that his hands get fixed. They run into this guy named the River Guardian. And the River Guardian is like, okay, bon appetit, like, go drink, go forth my children and drink. Penny takes a little sip and he's like, oh my god, my hands feel better. And then the River Guardian is like, oh my god, amazing. Money? Basically, he's like evil capitalism man, and Penny is immediately like, fuck no. No. What's the exact line? Try it next time on the next guy that needs this
public resource
that's on
public property.
Comrade Penny, baby. Kind of love when Margot and Penny are paired up on missions because they are both like swing first, ask questions later type people. So Margot is kind of defaulted into like the diplomacy role in this moment, and she's trying to like pay off the River Guardian. She takes her earrings and she's like, oh, well, we don't have like gold coins or anything, but these earrings are diamond, okay? Do you want those? And the River Guardian just goes,
what the fuck is a diamond?
Because remember, we're on an alternate planet, they have different minerals, you get the joke. Penny is like, whatever, we're just gonna leave. Like, what is he going to do to us? They decide to fuck off, and the River Guardian curses Penny's hands. In the notes, I love the fact that the writers have to come up with a new way to nerf Penny every single season. And it's true. They cannot let a bad bitch live. The Scooby Gang goes, they get the crowns. There's like a whole thing with the Knight of the Crowns, and it's like, blah, 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 answer these 90s Earth pop culture trivia questions, blah, blah, blah. Elliot does a Patrick Swayze monologue. Like, it's so strange, but, like, they have the crowns, okay? They're doing the crowning ceremony, and, like, Elliot is very, oh, like, whatever, like, just grab the crown and put it on your head, and Q is like, no. What if we had a whole crowning ceremony? What if we, like, had some decorum? What if this was, like, fun? It's cute. It's cute. Quentin officially crowns Elliot High King of Fillory, High King Elliot the Spectacular. Yay, we all applaud, we all cheer. Elliot, in turn, crowns Margot High Queen Margot the Destroyer, long may she reign. This will come back. This will come back later. Elliot also crowns Alice as the secondary queen, surely because he's apologizing for, like, the whole threesome thing and how everything went down with Q. It's definitely not because she's just the only girl that's, like, still on the team. And then Margot crowns Quentin as the final king of Fillory. Again, I say, I really like Margot and Quentin together as a very, like, underrated duo. She also apologizes for how everything went down at the end of season 1. If we remember from season 1, Quentin and Alice were dating, but then, like, Q slept with Margot and Elliot, and it's a whole thing, and I am a throuple supremacist. Speaking of the bullshit, after the whole crowning ceremony, Quentin and Alice, like, make up, and they agree that they're gonna be friends, but they still kiss, and it's like, Come on. When will I personally be free of the shackles that is this plot line? I'm feeling caged like an animal within the confines of the Quentin and Alice plot. Like, they kiss and then she's like, but we're not getting back together. And this is just like the running theme of the two of them. They'll like fully have sex and they'll be like, as friends who are in love platonically. The Beast and Julia kind of have a conversation about the fact that they are both victims of sexual assault. The Beast, aka Martin, the way he became his baddest bitch self, is he removed this thing that's called a shade. This is going to be really, really important, like a couple episodes down the line, but they're setting it up now. Also, I'm aware that I somehow managed to walk the fine line of wearing progressively more and progressively less makeup as this video goes on. Like, whatever. I have 8 subscribers. What are they gonna do? Clock me? So, the Beast and Julia are talking about the fact that they are both survivors of sexual assault. And I really want to take this moment to just like highlight the fact that this is a lot of what Julia's character is going to be for the next season. Just know that, and maybe if that's not the sort of content that you're interested in consuming, this video might not be for you. I just want to put like a blanket content warning for sexual assault in this, because it really is like a heavy theme of season 2. And I think that there's a lot of tonal dissonance that is very strange. Julia's struggling with this like really heavy thing and like how to tell people about it, and you know, like this idea that in order for her to find closure from that thing, she has to actively work against all of her friends' best interests. It's like her main struggle through this entire season. And then like Margot and Elliot are in ball gowns having little cakes. Like, there's a lot of tonal dissonance. Also, weird canonical event. The Beast watches Rick and Morty. Not relevant to the plot, but I really needed you to know that. He's really into it. Post crowning ceremony, the Scooby Gang goes back to Castle Whitespire, and they also meet the Pickwicks, specifically Tick Pickwick, displayed like here, probably. Tick has basically been running the show since, you know, the Beast stopped being in charge of Fillory. He very much falls into the character archetype of like fuck off royal vizier like vibes. He's kind of just like the group punching bag for now, but he will get more important in season 3, I think. So they meet up, and Tick and the rest of the council basically just launches into this like laundry list of things that are wrong with Fillory, because turns out when you have a magical land that runs on a magical wellspring that's been systemically drained for the past like 50 years, stuff goes wrong. The important things to know are that they have enemies all around them. Specifically to the north, they have the Lorians. They're like farming relied on magic, so that's kind of fucked right now. And just in general, everything was relying on the wellspring, and it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. They also finally get into the stupid armory, and it's empty, because why would the Beast, the last person who had access to this room, leave any evidence of anything that could possibly kill him? The only thing that they do find is like half of a book that maybe points to somebody that like maybe can help them. Like they're operating on a lot of like half-truths right now. So they decide that they're gonna go back to Breakbills, and this is bad news for Elliot, because if you don't remember from season 1, the way that Fillorian marriage and like being High King works is that he's permanently tied to Fillory. He physically can't leave ever again. Remember, like, Fillory kind of operates on a really weird time system. Like, it's really hard to tell how much time is going to pass for either of the groups before they see each other again. So Elliot is like for sure grappling with the fact that he might just straight up never see his friends ever again. He confesses these, like, fears to Q. They're really, really leaning on, like, the Q and Elliot friendship. Keep an eye on that going forward. It's gonna be really important. Those in the know. Yeah. Anyway, once again, I say Hale Appleman deserves an Oscar. The Scooby Gang, minus Elliot, are back at Breakbills. They meet up with the dean, and they kind of put 2 and 2 together finally, that, like, if the wellspring runs dry, it's not just totally fucking over Fillory for all time, it's all magic. Also, the Beast does a musical number for some reason. This will be a theme of the show going forward, just weird, out-of-place musical numbers. He also, like, hints a little bit to Julia that he's not in Whitespire anymore, obviously, but he, like, left some sort of curse, perhaps on the thrones. So, like, Julia's like, oh, okay. So, the Beast tells Julia that in order to catch Reynard, they need to find a powerful hedge witch to basically do the ritual to Our Lady Underground all over again. And the Beast is like, and we know one, named Marina. Marina is not really for this, I would personally see it as obvious reasons, but that's the current plan, get Marina to help them. The Scooby Gang goes back to Breakbills, to the Physical Kids cottage, where they're throwing a rager, cause it's college, baby. Also, Josh is there, that's right, Josh did survive, shout out Josh. Penny immediately tries to kill him. Josh apologizes to the main group for ditching them in Fillory, and he says that Victoria is basically, like, completely MIA, like, even he doesn't know where she is. Back in Fillory, Elliot and Fen are kind of trying to work together, and Fen is being really, really sweet, and she's really afraid of undermining Elliot as, like, the leader, but she's also the only person in that relationship who's lived in Fillory her entire life, and, like, she's been brought up under the assumption that she's going to be queen someday, so, like, she's in the know. One of the biggest problems facing Fillory right now is that their agriculture is all halted because they just relied on magic. They, like, don't know about manure, they don't really understand how to farm, and this is where Elliot's tragic backstory as a farmer from Nebraska or whatever comes back, because he's like, fine, I will embrace my roots, and he just teaches them farming techniques, like basic irrigation. So Marina has abandoned Julia and the Beast because she does not want to be put in danger, obviously. And she's beginning to call up other hedge witches to try and, like mobilize them against Reynard, because she's like, he's targeting hedges specifically, this is a threat to all of us, and I need my top bitches on the case. Like, she goes all the way to LA for, like, half of a day to meet up with some random, like, hedge witch from there, and by the time that she's there, like, the witch is already dead. Like, Reynard has already gotten to her. The side quest doesn't super matter, but what matters is the outcome, and that's that Marina goes to Breakbills to seek asylum, because she's like, these are the strongest wards that, like, I could find. Please, like, shelter me, you know, like, I know I got kicked out, but, like, the hedge witches are being targeted right now, like, please help me. And the dean just straight up says no. The dean is a bad person. Fun fact. Like, let it be known that Dean Fogg has essentially condemned Marina to death. Okay, so the Scooby Gang is trying to find this, like, half-book, half-spell to kill the Beast. Alice realizes that it's this thing called the Rhinoman Ultra, which is basically, like, god-tier battle magic. And they're kind of on a huge time crunch right now, because remember, Alice's god magic is, like, already fading, and she is realistically the only person that can do the Rhinoman Ultra, because she has just that little amount of, like, god magic left. It would kill anybody but her, or, you know, like, a god. There's also a really unnecessarily horny scene with Penny and that white lady that I hate. Again, the shackles of this plot. It's really crazy to me that The Magicians is capable of writing intriguing, delicate, fun romance. I'm talking about Penny and Katie. And then also they write some of the blandest, like, steamy scenes I've ever seen on television. The white lady professor is like, I am not interested. Don't sleep with your teachers, kids. Ding! Very school PSA. She gives him this, like, enchanted chain to wrap around his hands, kind of like a bracelet, and it, like, his hands are working again, okay? Penny's hands are back on the table. While all of this is happening, Julia and Quentin meet up and kind of touch base about everything. They're in really tough positions, and I think that, to the credit of the writers, this is, like, very, very good tension. They have really dynamically opposing goals in this moment. Basically, Q and the Scooby Gang are like, we need to kill the beast now because Alice is running out of god magic. Like, if we don't kill him right now, then, like, that's it. We have totally blown our chance. And then Julia is like, I can't kill Reynard without the beast. I need you to wait, which they can't, obviously. So it's a really, like, the setup is good. I'll give it to them. The setup is kind of good. The two of them are, like, fighting again, which is annoying because I hate it when Julia and Quentin fight because it's really boring. But there's like nuance in it because, believe it or not, Stella Maeve and Jason Ralph are good actors. And you can tell that they're really tired. Like, they're just really, really sick of having to fight all of the time. It's a good scene. This is a really good scene. So they're parting ways, basically, like, well, neither of us is going to get everything that we want. Like, one of us is going to have to suck shit for a minute. But in a nice moment, Julia does tell Quentin that the beast, like, has probably cursed Castle Whitespire's thrones. Okay, so Alice has the spell for the Rhinoman Ultra. Before they leave to go back to Fillory, the Dean offers them one more thing, which is this thing called a Keiko Demon. Basically, it's like a fire spirit that gets stored in your body, and it gets released when you say, like, blank says go free. So, like, Quentin says go free. Julia says go free. Like, that is the... That's the iambic pentameter of it. So the Dean gives Quentin, Margot, Alice, Penny. So there are 4 Keiko demons in play. And it can only be used once. They can only be released the one time. So the Scooby Gang goes to Fillory again, to which Elliot says, I'm sorry, Dean Fogg gave you all matching tramp stamps. And I say, Elliot, you're so silly. Elliot unveils the thrones because, remember, he's kind of like #1 princess of decorum as a concept. Penny, meanwhile, is the only one who's like,
What if we stop the beast?
And it's certainly not because Penny is the only person that was not crowned King or Queen of Fillory.
It's definitely not because he's jealous.
To which I also say, why was Penny not crowned? Be honest and answer quickly. So Elliot is like, blah, 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 ceremony, blah, blah, blah. Fillory. He sits on the throne. What happens when somebody sits on the throne is they immediately start thinking and believing that every other king and queen of Fillory is plotting against them, okay? It's like, it becomes Survivor very, very quickly. Quentin manages to, like, warn Penny about the curse before he falls victim to it, so Penny, this plotline is a purposeful waste of time. Like, it really does not matter. But all you need to know is that Penny knows about the curse. Every other person gets cursed. They all try to kill each other. Shenanigans ensue. Because of this, they've A, wasted a lot of time, and B, Quentin is the only person who has his Keiko demon left because they all started releasing them at each other. Like, Penny is just so galaxy brain in this plotline. I'm so happy that they let him be really, really smart when he's allowed to be a character. I shout out Penny Ariadne, #1 baby girl for real. Also, fucking Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows is in this show. I love him. Yes, yes! He's the royal map maker, and he's really cute. So in a last-ditch effort, Marina finally caves and decides that she's going to team up with Julia and the Beast. And the mentality behind it is kind of like, well, if I can't run from Reynard and I can't kill him myself, I might as well just beat him to the punch and kill him. She's also, like, really suspicious of the Beast. She's, like, pulling Julia aside and she's like, you can't trust him. He is a freak, right? They set up this whole, like, fake Our Lady Underground summoning, like la 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 la, whatever. So Marina is like by herself in the middle of this ceremony, like doing it, trying to trick Reynard. And then at the very last moment, the Beast blips Julia out of the warehouse. He's like, you can't be there. Reynard is going to smell you and he's going to know that it's a trap, but you needed to be there in the beginning because Marina needed to like feel safe enough to do this. And Julia is like, hey, first of all, rude. Second of all, oh my god, you left Marina alone in the warehouse. She's going to die. And the Beast is like, okay, first of all, some people are going to die, and that's like inevitable. Basically, he's like, Reynard is going to take long enough killing Marina that he'll be able to get back in time and kill Reynard. So halfway through the ceremony, Marina like snaps out of it and she's like, where the fuck are the Beast and Julia? And she's like, fuck this. And she leaves because she thinks that they betrayed her, which they did. So she goes home where she has like mad wards, like crazy girl, crazy magic level of wards. And it turns out that Reynard actually came and he followed her into her apartment, which she is warded up the wazoo, which means that she's basically locked in her apartment with Reynard. And if Julia and the Beast come, they're gonna have to take forever just to disassemble the wards. Marina's gonna die. Basically, what I'm telling you is that Marina is about to die. So the Beast and Julia get there, and they take forever to dismantle the wards. Meanwhile, inside the apartment, even though she is staring down a god, Marina is still on fucking menace mode. God bless her. Love this character. Like, Reynard is straight up holding her hostage, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry. It feels like you have issues. It feels like maybe you're not as powerful as you think you are and you take it out on women. Have you considered looking into that? Like, it's kind of weird. You're, like, weird. And then he eats her cat in front of her, which sucks. And then he eats her fingers, so she can't cast magic. And then he eats her foot. And I did not sign up for Vor when I decided to watch Sci-Fi's The Magicians, okay? Julia and Martin finally get into the apartment, thank God. And now we have to cut to the other plot line. So while Marina is going menace mode on Reynard, in Fillory, they've lost a lot of time. Like, they've lost time. So they have to go now, basically. It is truly now or never. And it's not ideal. Like, it's really bad. Penny's hands are still kind of fucked. They're down 3 Keiko demons. Alice is basically running on fumes. Like, she's 90% sure that she's only gonna have one shot at the Beast. The plan is Penny is going to blip to Earth, grab the Beast, blip him back, where Margot Elliott and Quentin are going to try and distract him for long enough for Alice to power up the spell, the Rhinoman Ultra. Would you believe that when they decide to blip him back would actually be right when the Beast freezes Reynard in Marina's apartment? It's a little dramatic timing for you. So Julia and the Beast get into Marina's apartment. Marina's still alive, thank God. The Beast freezes Reynard. And that is the very second that Penny blips in. And because Julia and the Beast were so close together, and he's just kind of like making a slapdash attempt, he grabs both of them and blips them back into Fillory. Which, for the record, leaves Marina alone in her apartment with Reynard. Penny blips them back into Fillory. He has Julia and the Beast, and oh my god, okay. Because of this, it means that when Alice shoots off the Rhinoman Ultra, it's going to kill Julia. So, in the dumbest move of the millennia, Quentin makes a split-second decision to basically dive into the line of fire to try and, like, push Julia out of the way, which means that Alice fucks up her aim because she doesn't want to hit Quentin, which means that she misses. Oh my god. Okay, so she doesn't kill the beast. She just takes out one of his arms. So he's like slowed down a little bit, but he's not dead. This is it, right? Like, this was their last-ditch attempt. So Martin fucks off. Julia is going feral because they had Reynard, like, right where they needed him. Like, she was about to kill him. So Penny, like, just grabs her and blips her back to a random block in New York, and he's like, the subway is that way, like, fuck off, I hope you have a good life. And she, God bless her, because he's being a little shit, she snaps the little enchantment, so now Penny's magic is fucked, which means that Penny is out of commission now. Again, I say they have to come up with a new way to nerf Penny every other episode. So the Goober Gang is trying to recoup post bestiality. No, not that. The gang is trying to recoup and figure out what they're going to do next. Margot offers to fuck a talking horse. No notes. Ugh. Quentin and Alice are in a carriage on the way to Castle Whitespire. Alice is in her feelings as usual. Blah, 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 blah. I hate this character. She is absolutely dunking on him, saying that, like, the two of them don't work as a couple. Which is true, and they don't, and I wish they'd learned that lesson. Direct quote from the notes. Jason, Ralph, your beautiful Bambi eyes are working absolutely overtime to make me not audibly groan every single one of Q's lines, and it almost worked. Really, baby, it almost did. Like, nothing happens in this scene. They just talk again about the fact that they, like, maybe should date, maybe shouldn't. I could not care less. So, Martin is going back to the wellspring, because, you know, he's not dead, but he's kind of bent out of shape. So his plan is to go and drink more from the wellspring. Lo and behold, Ember, the god, got there first and ruined or poisoned the wellspring. He did this by shitting in it. Yeah, you heard me. You heard me correctly. Ember took a fat dump in the wellspring of all magic. He did this so that Martin would stop sucking down the wellspring and he'd lose his power, but girl, just kill him. I know he can't, but try. So this leads us into the final face-off between Quentin, Alice, and the Beast. Everybody is torrentially fucked right now, so it's kind of even. Let's see, Alice is basically out of god magic. Martin is down an arm, and Quentin is there purely for vibes. Because she and Penny had that training montage where they, like, learned how to do battle magic, she is able to throw some spells at Martin. She's also tearing Martin apart for, like, not being a real magician, unlike her, who's, like, naturally just, like, attuned to this sort of thing. Meanwhile, Martin has to suck down the wellspring just to, like, be on her level. And she's kind of eating him out. So Alice is officially out of Godges, like, none left. We're done. And she decides that she's gonna do the Rhinoman Ultra anyway. Which, remember, they had a whole conversation about how Alice was the only person who could do it because she had god magic, because it would literally kill anybody else. And she's like, I can do it. Let me live. So Alice tries to throw the Rhinoman Ultra at him, and it fails. Not only does it fail, Alice turns into a Niffin. She fully Niffins out, burns up in this, like, blaze of blue fire. Alice Quinn is taken off the board. Alice is dead. The Beast is doing the villain thing, and, like, gloating and kind of being like, ha ha ha, who was the real magician? Ha 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 ha. He's not French, I just think he is. He's coming in for the kill for Quentin, who is there by himself. He's there alone with the Beast. The Beast is approaching Quentin, going in for the kill, when, boom, Niffin Alice shows up. That's right. She did it on purpose so that she could turn into a Niffin and KO the Beast, because she realized that the only way that she'd be able to kill him is if she was, like, raw power. So it was intentional. Niffin Alice rips open the Beast's chest, a bunch of moths fly out, and, like, that's it. Niffin Alice has officially killed the Beast. It's weird that it's really early in the season, right? So Quentin is like, oh my god, Alice, you ate that up, yes! And then she, like she's about to kill him. Because remember from season 1, a Niffin is a being of raw magic, like just raw power. It's kind of of similar to, like, the lack of a shade. One could argue no emotion, no feelings, not human. It just looks like Alice. It's a killing machine, basically. Also, side note, really important, they give Alice really good fake eyelashes when she's in Niffin mode. Like, they snatch her up really, really nicely. They normally do the Alice actress, like, really, really dirty with the costumes. I have no idea what the costumer is thinking, like, in 9 out of 10 of the Alice outfits. But when she's a Niffin, like, that makeup looks so good. That makeup looks fantastic. Her false eyelashes are false eyelashing. So Margot and Elliot show up, like, at the last second. They try to distract Alice before she can kill Quentin, and while she's distracted, Quentin releases his Keiko demon to kill Alice. Alice is now dead. And I know what you're thinking. Ella, it finally happened. You're gonna know peace from the Quentin and Alice plotline. Honey, you got a big storm coming. Back on Earth, Julia finally gets back to Marina's apartment, and Marina is dead. So they really wiped 3 bad bitches off the board in one fell swoop. This is the 3rd episode of the season, by the way. 3 main characters are dead. I just feel like maybe the showrunners got really tired of the Beast plotline and they didn't know what to do with it. Again, I have not read the 2nd book. Maybe Martin dies really early into the 2nd one. I have my suspicions that that's not true. I think it's really funny that they were just like, no, we're done with that now. We're done. We move forward. Season 2, baby. Season 2, episode 4 is kind of filler. It's a lot of dealing with, like, the impact of what's happened. Elliot has left Quentin a note for when he wakes up. Speaking of Elliot, it's bad. It's bad for my bestie, for real. He and Margot are trying to lead the council, but, like, stuff is going haywire post. It begins to be referred to as the brownout, but Ember shitting in the wellspring. They can't find Ember to fix it, and it's just, like, completely, like, wonking up all of the magic. Low-key, Margot's the only one who's doing a good job. Like, she's the only one who's making money moves in this moment. Oh my god, I forgot about this. Okay, also, because Elliot is, like, mad that Margot is sort of, like, strong-arming him in the council meeting, he calls her Fillery Clinton. That, I'm gonna say it, that is the funniest joke in the show. Oh, I know that, like, it was named Fillery in the books, and Margot was High Queen in the books. Like, they did not bend over backwards to get this joke. It just happened perfectly. Fillery Clinton, are you kidding me? That's so funny. Also, this is the beginning of what I will be referring to as Margot and Elliot's maximum slay era, because they're king and queen of Fillery, so they just get the coolest fucking outfits. Sometimes Margot's are, like, a little bit questionable. I think they put her in a lot of, like, peplum blouses, but overall, maximum slayage is occurring on screen for us. Margot agrees to, like, slap and tickle the fact that she kind of stepped over Elliot in the meeting. She's going to go back to Earth and try and find some sort of loophole to help get Elliot, like, the ability to go back to Earth, not to be stuck on Fillery anymore. Julia finds Katie about damn time that my girlfriend was back on screen. They catch up. Katie's feeling, like, really guilty for ditching Julia. I also think that Katie maybe got addicted to drugs again between seasons. It's a little bit unclear. Julia takes Katie to go, like, visit Marina's body, and they find a locator number that's tattooed on her arm. The locator number is for a book that's in Breakbills. Back in Breakbills, magic is going bad. Penny, in particular, is, like, totally wonked over because his hands aren't working, his magic's not working, and then magic as a whole isn't working. But he runs into Margot at Breakbills. She tells him that the Beast is dead, but Quentin is like pretty banged up and Alice is gone. Penny, baby, I know they're not gonna let you deal with it, but you internally, I can tell that you are having some angst over this, and I love that for you. Fen is trying really hard to bang Elliot, and it's not working because Margot keeps cock blocking. Basically, Margot comes back to Fillory, and her plan is she's going to make Elliot a golem to be on Earth that he can possess when he's asleep. It's a loophole. They found a loophole. Penny meets up with Quentin at the Centaur retreat. They're both really pissy at each other, and it's kind of role reversal because Quentin in particular is like really mean to Penny, and Penny's kind of like just trying to help him, which is very like, oh, how the tables have turned from season 1. And I like that. I think that that's nice. I like that these two are actually getting development instead of just kind of leaving it at the ambiguous, like, haha, Penny hates Quentin. The reason Penny's at the Centaur retreat is Margot was like, go there, deal with your hands. Penny tells the Centaurs about how he made a bad deal with the River Guardian, and the Centaur is like, yeah, dude, that's on you. That's your fault. You shouldn't have fucked with that. So Katie's been kicked out of Breakbills, so she can't go, but like, she's the only one who knows the layout. So in order for them to communicate, they do a spell that has one of those little friendship necklaces that's usually like best friends, BFFs, or whatever, except it says best bitches. And then as long as you're wearing your half of the best bitches charm, you can see what the other person is seeing. Which is where the friendship/ship name Best Bitches or Best Witches comes from, which is Julia and Katie's. Again, I say super underrated dynamic in the show. I really wish that like post season 2 we got more of them together. Katie guides Julia through the Best Witches charm to the library in Breakbills. The book that they're looking for, however, can't be taken off the premises. So Julia just like brings it to the physical kids' cottage to try and read it without anybody really like noticing that something is wrong. In turn, Elliot uses the golem to go with Margot back to the physical kids' cottage, and nobody cared. Nobody cared that they were gone. Like, everybody just thought that they were dead. In his absence, guess who became, like, head honcho? It's fucking Todd. Like, he's calling himself New Elliot. I think he, like, stole some of Elliot's clothes. Shout out Todd. Shout out Todd for real. Elliot meets a cute guy at the physical kids' cottage, and they start banging, but because he's, like, inceptioning into the golem, like, Fen uses this opportunity to sleep with Elliot. All you need to know is that through shenanigans and maybe not necessarily consent, Elliot and Fen have slept together. Canon confirmed. Boom. Jump scare warning. Fit change. Don't like it? Get out of the way! The inspiration for today's fit is Margot Hanson, High Queen of Fillory, Margot the Destroyer. I hope that that's coming across with my high ponytail and whimsical makeup featuring hot pink. This is the Margot vibe from now on. Guys, I am aware. I know that the camera keeps going out of focus. It's not my fault, okay? I'm doing this by myself. On Quentin and Penny's little mission trip to the woods, Quentin is hunting for a mythical creature called the White Lady. She's like a fawn. She's like half deer. She is one of the 7 questing creatures of Fillory, and if you catch her, she has to grant you a wish. The questing creatures will not come up again, ever again. Basically, Penny and Quentin are going to go try and capture her. Penny's going to wish for his hands back, and Quentin is going to wish to get Alice back. That's the goal for the mission. I'm sure it will work out perfectly well. Margot finds Julia at the physical kids' cottage, and they have it out, okay? Like, because remember, Margot is queen of the We Should Kill Julia Brigade. My best friend, motto plug. My best friend Margot Hanson out for blood. They both have really valid points. We've been over why Julia working against the interest of everybody else still kind of makes sense. Moral of the story is Margot at the end of the day is a girl's girl, so she does agree to help Julia. So they get the assist from Margot, they get the book. Julia and Katie realize that the spell that Marina was pointing them to is a temporary necromancy spell, so they temporarily revive Marina to, like, touch base with her real quick. Also, Marina confirms that she went to hell. Love her. She tells Julia while she's back at it that it is possible to stop Reynard. Apparently, 40 years ago, there was another woman who banished Reynard, and he hadn't come back until Julia, Katie, and the rest of the cult summoned him, which I'm sure does great things for Julia's mental health. Quentin and Penny catch the White Lady. She's a bitch. I love her. She's in only this episode. Awesome. Quentin wishes for Alice to come back to the dead, and she's like, I can't do that. That's not my business, and I can't do that. I wrote in my notes, Q is pissy long stockings mode about that. I'm funny. Nobody ever talks about the fact that I'm really funny. Penny wishes for his hands back. She gives them back, no questions asked, but they can't do magic. The White Lady is like, at Quentin Coldwater, is there anything else that you want? Like, you caught me, you get the wish, I just can't bring back your dead annoying girlfriend. And Quentin is like, no, there's nothing else in life that I want. This is the only thing. So he wishes to go home. Okay, season 2, episode 5 is fun because Netflix short-circuited on me and it just would not let me watch this episode. I don't know why. I really wish that I could tell you, but for some reason, Netflix would not let me watch season 2, episode 5 of Sci-Fi's Magicians. So I did a Wikipedia perusal. This is all the stuff that you really need to know. Sorry. I'm also convinced that that short circuit was actual divine intervention. This episode is ass. I remember it from when I have consumed this show in previous years. I hate this season. So Quentin is in the real world. He gives up on doing magic, like, full stop for a hot second because he's so depressed about, like, Alice being a Niffin. So he meets up with that girl that Alice's brother in the first season like turned into a Niffin to help save because she's also given up on magic, and they like work at an office job for a while and like reminisce about how beautiful magic can be sometimes. Boring. We also get the reveal that if you remember back to season 1, her backstory was that she fell in love with a professor and she like tried to do a spell to make herself hotter so he'd leave his wife. It's Lev Grossman go to jail. Anyway, we finally learn that the professor that she fell in love with was in fact Mayakovsky, which is why Mayakovsky is banished to break Bill South. It's so not important. Don't bother with this episode. Oh my god. Also, there's a Felorian insurgent group called the Foo Fighters. They will get mileage out of this joke. It's never funny. I think it stands for like Felorians United or something, like FU, Foo. The Foo Fighters basically hate the monarchy. They hate Elliot. They hate Margot. Whatever. They try to kill Elliot. And then we kind of get the reveal that Fen is connected to the Foo Fighters. And that's it. That's season 2, episode 5. The end. Honestly, I wish that I would just do the rest of the video in this like bullet point style. But I gotta put some stank on it. Season 2, episode 6. I'm allowed to watch The Magicians again. Q is like no longer giving up on magic. It took 1 episode for him to no longer want to partake in that. Glad that we spent an episode on it. He's dedicating himself to trying to summon Niffin Alice to see if maybe he can like figure out some ceremony or something to turn her back into a human. Margot and Elliot, on the other hand, are serving Fitz. It's an Alice's parents episode, and I hate these characters. They're so boring. He goes to Alice's home to talk to her parents, to, like, figure out if maybe they can help. They're throwing a memorial. The mom is liar, pants on fire mode, being like, I loved my children. We were so close, which is not true. Alice and her mom hated each other. Quentin runs into like a creepy ghost girl version of Alice who's just standing in the corner. I didn't ask and I don't care. Katie, my girlfriend, is powering through withdrawal. She and Julia are trying to research Reynard to see if they can figure out, like, who this woman was 40 years ago that banished him. Fen is talking to the Foo Fighter that's in the dungeon. He's the one that tried to kill Elliot. Remember, Fen has that connection. We also get the reveal Fen is pregnant. because they slept together that one time. Penny pulls up. He can travel. He just can't do, like, magic because of the hands. It's always the fucking hands. Penny pulls up to Fillory. He needs help, right? He just needs some help. And Elliot is, like, trying to extend an olive branch. And Penny is like, dude, no offense, you are the last person in the world, who could ever help somebody. Awesome. So instead, Penny goes to Harvey Guillen, the royal map maker, because he maybe knows where some plants are that will fix Penny's hands. Like, whatever. Give my boy something else to do. I'm actually begging. Quentin talks to Alice's dad, and he's like, I'm being haunted by your daughter. And then the dad is like, oh, it's because her soul's not at rest. Obviously. So they're gonna do a ritual that involves building a pyramid. I don't know, okay? I don't know. I've heard of the ritual involves looking into a mirror and being truthful, and if you break the mirror, then you break the ritual, and I don't care, and I hate this plot line, and I hate Alice. Okay, servitude occurring. Servitude, we're back. Margot and Elliot are in Fillory. They have ambassadors from the northern country of Loria. Remember, they're, like, not friends right now. Loria is low-key thinking about going to war. The Lorians pull up, and their leader is a character displayed here named Prince S, as in S-E-S-S is his name, and he is the prince. He's like a low-key slayer. He also has like some connection with Margot and Elliot because his dad sent him to boarding school on Earth for like a while, so he knows Earth references. Not super important to the plot, arguably a plot hole, but like, it makes for pop culture references, yes? Basically, the Lorians blame the Fillorians for the wellspring being broken, but he's like, I'd love to extend an olive branch, I'd love to work together, and the best way that we can do that is, and this is a quote, marrying the virgin Queen Margot. To which Margot is like, the what? Elliot's like trying to diplomat it. Remember, he's full king mode now. Margot goes evil mode immediately. She says no, and she's being not the most diplomatic about it. So Prince S has the Mage of Loria do a spell to teleport the castle White Spire to Loria. They're holding the castle hostage. Penny and the mapmaker are outside the castle when this happens, when the castle vanishes, and the mapmaker is just like, oh my god, I have to redraw the maps! Elliot and Margot are bickering about this, as is tradition. I love them so much, they can't get through 3 episodes without fighting. They're both making sense. You know, Margot is saying, like, I'm not going to do an arranged marriage for the good of the kingdom. That's really fucked, and we're not in the Middle Ages anymore. Meanwhile, Elliot is like, I see that, but you have to understand, I'm in an arranged marriage for the good of the kingdom. Julia and Katie track down the original site of Reynard's banishing. It's in Florida, for some reason. Also, Julia is confirmed pregnant with Reynard's kid. So you guys know. They're trying to find the woman who originally banished Reynard so that they can banish him a second time. Julia meets the woman and tells her that she's pregnant, and the woman is a freak about this. So we find out that this lady also tried to summon Our Lady Underground, also got Reynard instead, and also got pregnant. And then she kidnaps Julia and locks her in the basement. Quentin is Taylor Swift, speak now, capital H, haunted by Alice. The dad is out of commission for some reason. I think he just starts freaking out. So the mom is like, oh, whatever, I will do the spell, which is like recipe for disaster considering that she's liar, liar, pants on fire. Margot goes to talk to Prince S about the whole marriage thing. They're like flirting, and then Margot is like, no marriage, and then Princess is like, yes marriage, and then they have hate sex, and it's like, whatever. Whatever. Elliot and Fen are also kind of pissy at each other right now. Elliot's mad at Fen about the whole Foo Fighter thing. Fen is kind of mad at Elliot because she's like, I left my entire life behind. You know, I spent my entire life waiting for you to come, not knowing if you were even coming. I had to put my entire life on pause for you. She also tells him that she knows that he's never really going to love her the way that she wants him to because he's gay, but she wants him to succeed because she loves Fillory and she, like, wants to, like, still be in this family with him. Oh my god, Sister Suffrage Julia is locked in the basement! The crazy lady basically says that she's going to keep Julia kidnapped there until she gives birth, because when you give birth to a demigod, you get, like, a huge burst of god mode magic, which is how the lady banished Renard in the first place. Katie finds Julia, thank god, prison break, they get out. Post hate sex with Prince S, Margot goes to Elliot and she's like, you know what, I thought about what you said and I agree. Like, for the good of the kingdom, I'm going to marry Prince S. And then Elliot is like, no, I thought about what you said, and, like, I'm kind of miserable in my marriage with Fen, so, like, I understand where you're coming from. You shouldn't marry this guy. Through a series of shenanigans, Penny and the mapmaker realize that the castle wasn't actually transported to Loria. It was just invisible. So Penny blips into the castle and, like, right when Margot is about to announce that she's gonna marry Prince S, Penny is like, no, like, actually, you're, like, they were tricking you. They were trying to force you into this marriage. And so Margot declares war on Loria. Like, she's ramping up. She's like, I will not be in love with you. I will not marry you. And Elliot is like, yes, Margot, yes, feminism. And then Margot is like, and not only will I not marry you, we're going to war. And then Elliot is like, wait, what? Ugh, the way that the stupid summoning thing that I hate works is Q manages to finally summon Nif and Alice, and he ends up trapping her in his Keiko demon tattoo, this empty slot that used to hold a powerful spirit. Quentin has now trapped Alice in there. Okay, season 2, episode 7. We're going through it. Q is getting consistently jump scared by visions of Keiko demon Alice because, remember, she's, like, part of his soul, basically. So he just keeps seeing visions of Alice, who's like, you should suffer. I hate you, let me out! And he's the only person who can see her. She really wants out of the Keiko demon trap, but Quentin is trying to hold her there while he finds a spell that will return her to human form. I hate this plotline so much, it's so boring. It hinges on you caring about Alice, and I really truly don't. Like, that's it. Maybe if I cared about Alice or her relationship with Quentin at all, I would be like, yes, Quentin, you're doing the right thing. I don't care. Nif and Alice has started begging Quentin, like, if you're not going to let me out, then at least let me have control of the body, okay? Like, at least let me do stuff, otherwise I'm just stuck here. Julia and Katie are going to a contact that Katie found to get Julia a magic abortion, so she doesn't have to give birth to Reynard's kid. Good for her, right to choose. They go to this contact. It's these two women who are working in, like, some back alley or whatever. They're kind of hesitant on it. Like, one of them is really like, oh, I don't want to, like, this is god magic. Like, I don't want to touch this. The other one is like, listen, it's fine. We will give you the magic demon baby abortion. However, that's going to be $1 million in gold, please, now. So Katie and Julia are like, oh my god, how are we going to get this money? In gold, no less. Like, this is going to be so rough. We're going to rob a bank. That's right. Bank heist episode. Yes! 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 Finally, something fun! I've been missing something fun from this show. The worst thing, in my humble opinion, that The Magicians can be is boring. When The Magicians is boring, it is so so sluggish. It really needs stuff like the bank heist episode, like the random musical numbers, like all of, like, the cancer puppy of it all. Like, it really needs silly shit. Otherwise, it's just so obnoxious. Margot and Elliot are in the War Council meeting for the war that Margot has opted them into without consulting Elliot first, so that's really fun. It kind of sucks for them right now, just a little bit. Like, not only is it just suckish to go to war ever, but the kingdom is broke. Like, they really don't have the money to go to war and to fix the wellspring. Like, they're really in a tough spot. Also, Margot drops the line, "I'm gonna invent the guillotine in a second if they don't get their shit together." Love her. In my brain, I understand that I should not be rooting for the tyrannical dictatorship. I do think that when Margot goes full tyrannical dictator, it's funny. I'm allowed to think that it's at least funny. Fundamentally, these characters are, like, 23, right? Like, a 23-year-old is like,
"I'm gonna go to war and invent the guillotine."
Julia and Katie are in full bank heist mode. They figure that the only place that they'll be safe is at Breakbills, because remember, Marina was trying to seek asylum at Breakbills during the whole Reynard thing, because they have really strong wards. Julia and Katie go, and the dean does give them asylum because not only is he the reason that Marina got killed for the same thing, he's also the reason that Julia is in this situation because of the whole time loop thing from season 1. Julia and Quentin finally get a chance to touch base after everything that went down. They don't know how to talk to each other, but it's nice that they're trying. Quentin tells Julia that he did mean it when he said that he would help her with the whole Reynard thing. So she's like, okay, help me rob a bank then. Katie and Penny also meet up in the library, and I believe that this is the first time that they have seen each other post Breakbill South season 1 mid-season finale. If you are familiar with this channel, you know that I am a Katie and Penny stan first, and then a person second. I love Katie and Penny together. They are so juicy, 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 yum, yum, yum. Penny basically, like, stares at her for, like, a minute of silence, and then boom, they just immediately start making out. Yes! Yes! The coin purse jingles again! In the afterglow, Katie is like, we're gonna rob a bank, like, whatever, life is crazy. To which Penny responds, so you're gonna ask the traveler who you just fucked the shit out of to help you rob a bank? No, I didn't really think that I had the right. That's noble. But ask anyway. This is my Pride and Prejudice. This is my Mr. Darcy. This is so good. Ask anyway? They're crazy for that. Oh my god, if Katie had gone full Niffin mode, I'd fucking care, but yet here we are. Sneezy. Quentin also gets Margot and Elliot in on the bank heist plan because remember, Fillory is what? Broke as hell. They all get together and every single person who's not Katie or Quentin is so pissed when they find out that this is to help Julia. But they get over it. Shout out Margot for the line, P.S. we still hate you, but it's the 21st century. It shouldn't be this hard for a woman to get an abortion. Crazy thing to have been said in like 2015. I wonder if it'll get worse. Margot, I'm so sorry, baby. You would have hated 2023. Fuck! Okay, so they're getting ready to rob the bank. Turns out Margot actually is in the know about this because she's robbed a bank before. Elliot asks her, when was this? And Margot says, senior year of high school. I had some issues. I love her! She tells them that all bank security firms are run by magicians who, on top of like normal bank security stuff, have wards, battle magicians, etc. Basically, the entire floor of the vault is warded. The design on the floor is anti-traveler, And when a traveler lands in a bank vault, it automatically seals the door and starts, like, zapping the oxygen out of the room before, like, a battle magician can get there and finish the job. So their solution is to just have Penny not touch the floor. Elliot is going to make him this thing called a gravity belt, which basically you put it on and it suspends you in midair. So Penny just has to travel inside the vault with the gravity belt on, and he'll just be hovering midair. Also, shout out Quentin, my pop culture queen. He says, "Oh, so it's like Mission Impossible?" And Elliot just goes, "Those movies are so unrealistic. It's so much easier to just levitate. Girl, grow up." All right, bank heist time, baby. First thing that they do is flood the entire bank with bees to get everybody off the premises. And then they use magic to wow with the cameras, as you do when you're a magician, I guess. They lower the wards so that Penny can blip in with the gravity belt on, and he starts loading up with the gold. But because Elliot is a fucking dumbass and didn't do the calculations correctly, the gold weighed down Penny so much that he ends up touching the floor anyway. So it would have worked, but they hadn't accounted for the weight of the gold. This triggers the magical alarm and the anti-traveling magic. So Penny can't get out. He's stuck in there. They need to crack the, like, vault door. They're also on a time crunch because remember, the air is going to get sucked out of that room. They have, like, maybe 2 minutes to do this. They're having trouble picking the actual lock for the bank vault. And Niffin Alice is, again, in Quentin's head. Only he can see her. Nobody knows that she's there. Nobody knows that Q has done this. And she's like,
Why don't you let me do the math? If you let me run the body for a second, I can crack the vault. Otherwise, Penny's gonna die. Let me do it. Give me the body.
boom, jump scare. Little French girl. Is that a little French girl on your screen?
What?
Yeah, it's been a month since I've been recording. I don't know if you can tell that I've been having a rough time lately, but I have. I've been having a bad time. College is hard, guys. Don't go. They make you learn things and then they test you on it. Where were we? Right, okay, bank heist. Alice as a Niffin is like, we can save Penny. We can save Penny. Don't you want to save Penny? Don't you want to be the hero, Quentin? I can help you pick the lock. You just have to give me the body. And Quentin is like, fine, whatever. Penny is going to die. Okay. They love to put my princess in damsel in distress like situations. Because of the deal that they made, they get the door open and that ends up triggering an alarm that summons a battle magician. It does not really matter, but what does matter is on their way out after they beat the magician, Elliot's golem dies.
Not Elliot.
Because remember, he's sort of inceptioning into this, like, body on planet Earth. So Elliot himself is alive, but he is no longer on Earth anymore. They can't make another golem. They have the money. There was, like, a whole thing about Katie and Julia being hunted by this invisible monster, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, Katie and Julia go back to the abortion witches, which is what Republicans call Planned Parenthood. And they're like, give a de-abortion. Anyway, they do the magical abortion, and it's okay. Like, the baby is no longer an issue, but they do that TV thing where they're like, there's been a complication. The complication is that Julia's shade got snatched in the process. If you don't remember, the shade is a conscious. So Julia is basically operating without a moral compass. So season 2, episode 8. Julia is kind of like on one of those crazy, silly villains, like one of those moments right now, which is really, it's hard for me. It's hard for me specifically. But she's like super duper tripper and everyone's like, Julia, what the fuck? Your shade just got ripped out. That's scary. We need to be scared right now. And Julia's like, I feel fucking great. We should go rob another bank, no? Katie has kind of been guilty about, not being there for Julia when she needed to be there for her. So she's like all gung-ho about killing the god, but Katie's beginning to question whether or not it's even possible to kill Reynard. And she like voices these concerns to Julia, and Julia's just like, well, why don't we make money moves then? Have we considered trying a little bit harder? Basically, Julia's money move that she's petitioning that they make is that she wants to hunt down Reynard's son, the son from the witch that trapped her in the in the basement in Florida. Do we remember her? Do we remember that lady? Julia's plan is they're going to hunt down that guy. Over in the annoying plotline, Quentin and Alice are talking and they're doing a word is bond over like the specifics of when Alice gets the body. The rule is Alice gets to drive the body for half an hour every day, but she can't do magic, she can't have sex, and she can't hurt anybody when she has the body. 2 back-to-back notes, written exactly like this. Elliot is low-key in a coma right now. Ooh, Margot is in a great fit this episode. So that's how Fillory is going. Anyway, Elliot's in a coma. His golem died while he was inceptioning the golem, so it's like, ugh, Elliot might not come back to life. And the fear is kind of that it's like a little bit up to him, and Elliot has been a little bit like death idolization vibes. So Margot is like really stressed out, not just that like Elliot might not come back to life, but that he doesn't want to come back to life. So that's fun. That's like a fun thing that's happening. My best friend Elliot while suffering as per usual. And then on top of that, Margot is really worried that like this whole war that she started is going to happen before Elliot even wakes up. And she's kind of stressed out because she doesn't think that people like her very much in Fillory because she's kind of the like rah 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 one, like that. Like that one. She's like that friend. Quentin finds out about Julia and Katie's plan to go find Reynard's kid, and Quentin is like,
I think maybe you should stay in the wards at Breakbills, because I think we're safe here. I think we're maybe safe here, and if we go out, bad things will happen to us. Don't we think that that might happen?
And then Julia, once again on her crazy girl shit, is like,
no!
And then she leaves and Reynard immediately shows up again. Turns out Reynard also does not know where his kid is, so they're both kind of racing to get their hands on him first. Reynard wants to, like, unleash the beast, so to speak, but Julia wants to, like, use his power for herself. Anyway, Quentin followed Julia, thank God. He, like, blips her out into Fillory using the magic button. And he, like, dumps her on Margot's footsteps, which, like, Margot is already dealing with, like, 9,000 things right now, so she's not super happy that Julia, a girl she already does not particularly like, is there with her, but Quentin is like, please, like, this is the only place that I can keep her that she can't get out of, that Reynard won't find her at. Is Julia in jail? Not necessarily, but a little. Oh my god, finally back. Penny goes and meets up with Zelda. Hooray, hooray, I missed my legend. I missed Zelda. God, thank God she's back. This is in the notes. Penny blips in looking sad and wet. So true. Zelda is like, you know, if you want to work for, like, me at the library, we can help you fix your hands. You just have to work for us. And by work for the library, I do mean a contract that says that he would be doing, quote, unlimited manual labor up to and beyond his death. So it's like a rock and a hard place to me, because, like, the library has the resources to help him, but also it's manual labor. Ugh. Also, Penny and Katie are cute right now. Hooray, hooray, finally, a treat for Ella, a treat for me. A treat for me, Penny and Katie on screen together, yippee. Like, Katie is tearing herself apart trying to find Reynard's son. Like, she's scouring the internet. And then Penny comes in and he's just like, hey, have you, like, eaten? Like, you should eat maybe. Like, please, like, take care of yourself. Also, hi. I love them. I'm never gonna stop loving them. And if that's a crime, then lock me up. Also, Katie is kind of in, like, barrier mode right now. She's not, how you say, interested in talking about it, if you know what I mean. And Penny is like, that's okay. I'm just here to help. If you want to keep it professional, we'll keep it professional. And then the narrator comes on and says he did not, in fact, want to keep it professional. Margot wants to make a deal with these tree people in Fillory. They are just trees, but they have, like, a representative that's, like, a tree guy. She brings Julia along with her. The tree talk with Julia and Margot didn't go great, so Julia is like, now wait a minute, what if I X Games mode? What if I start making money moves? Julia's the only one making money moves right now. I have to respect a hustle. Basically, she captures the high mage from Loria. She asks him to make a glamour charm so that she can't be detected by a god, which is how we circumnavigate the rain art of it all. And then after that, she calls up the dryad guy and she's like, hey, I actually have a present for you. Here, take this back to the trees. Oh my god, have this. It's for you. And he takes it back to the trees and it was a bomb. It was a fucking bomb. She bombed the trees. She killed the trees. Julia Wicca, Greta Thunberg going... That's why they call her Thunberg. She goes, okay, pivot. We're back in the Alice Quentin plotline, once again asking who cares. The answer is no one. The answer has never been anybody, but whatever. We're back in the Alice Quentin plotline. Ugh. While Alice has been driving the body, Quentin has been blacking out, so he doesn't know what she's been getting up to, but he wakes up and they're in a playground, like a children's playground, and it's getting weird and strange. There's this little girl there that's actually a monster called the Angler Beast. The Angler Beast goes X Games mode, but Alice goes X Games mode harder. Basically, Alice kills the Angler Beast. It is so not important at all, but it's like, I think it comes up again like once in season 3 or season 4. Anyway, Quentin is feeling a type of way about it, so he starts researching how to break a word is bond, which you famously can't. Julia pulls back up to Castle Whitespire, and Margot is fucking pissed because for once in her life, Margot was choosing peace, trying to do diplomacy because Elliot's out of commission, and Julia just fucked her entire life up by bombing the trees. Margot realizes that Julia was probably trying to piss her off by doing the whole tree thing so that she would send Julia back to Earth. And Margot is smarter than that, so instead of sending her back to Earth, she locks her ass up in the dungeon. Katie is doing girl not okay. It is just my favorite character dynamic. Penny is kind of throwing up, killing himself, trying to just be there for Katie because she's obviously going through it, she's recovering from her drug addiction right now. She's trying to stay straight long enough to help Julia, just throwing herself into this problem, trying to fix something. And Penny is really, really trying to be there for her. But I think Katie is really stressed out because she's if I fuck one thing up, I fuck everything up. And she's trying to push Penny away. She's doing the classic, I'm a problem, I'm an issue, I don't need to be your issue. I never asked to be your issue. You should not have to take care of me. I'm not asking you to take care of me. She keeps telling him that she doesn't want him to fix her, but she's also kind of manic and desperate, and her eyes are very much giving please, even though I'm pushing you away, stay. And I love that character dynamic. Also, side note, Pedestrian at Best by Courtney Barnett is playing in the background of this scene, and I believe it's framed as diegetic music. At least it kind of sounds like it's been mixed to sound like it's coming from a speaker or something, which means that Katie is a Courtney Barnett stan, and that means that Katie is my favorite. Quentin wakes up from Alice being in control, and they're in Ireland. They meet up with this guy named Friar Joseph. Friar Joseph is who Alice has been looking for when Quentin has been blacked out when she's in control of the body. That's who she was kind of shaking down the Angler Beast for information on. He's this niffin that is a niffin's niffin, if you know what I mean. Quentin tries to really quickly niffin bind Friar Joseph, and Friar Joseph is no. Oh, fuck. If it's auto color correcting, guys, I'm so sorry. This is who Alice has been looking for, and she's so excited to meet him, and then he just starts dunking on her. He just kills her immediately, tears her apart for being a shitty niffin and a shitty magician and a shitty little bitch, little poo-poo girl. Friar Joseph basically says that he will only train Alice if she can figure out how to rid herself of Quentin, which is maybe good because having Alice and Quentin in the same body is literally tearing Quentin apart minute by minute. It's not good for either of them to be in this situation, but Quentin is no, I can fix her. I can literally fix her. What Katie thinks Penny is doing is what Quentin is doing. Also, Fen drops that she's pregnant to Margot. And also, when she drops that she's pregnant, she's kind of I'm worried about Elliot. I'm worried that, either he's, not really gonna be there, or he's gonna, like, just die. Like, he's just gonna not be there for real, like, actually going to be in this coma and die. And Margot is like, okay, well, you have me. I'm here. I'm here for you, and I'm gonna be here for this kid. And all I can say is I think that something homosexual just happened on screen. I realize I said that like a homophobe. I think that maybe Margot and Fenn are in love. Do you know what I mean? Also, could you imagine if they just let Margot be a lesbian? Could you imagine how much better my life would be if that was allowed? When I reboot The Magicians in 5 to 10 years, when I get my little grabbers on this series, Margot is a lesbian. Write that down. Margot is a lesbian. But good news, Elliot wakes up. He's okay now. He's like, guys, we're fine. Penny pulls up to Katie one more time, and it is revealed that he has decided to sign the contract with the library. Katie is pissed. And he tells her that, like, yeah, part of it was so that he could get magic back. He could, like, use his hands for magic again. But also, the library has so many fucking resources. And he's like, listen, like, if this can help us find Dana and Reynard's kid, and if you can stop, like, killing yourself in this search, because I can give you some of this information, then it's, like, worth it. Okay, line reading. Katie says, did you do this for me? And then Penny goes, well, not just, but yeah. You know what? Yeah. Ooh. And then, like, 2 lines later, ooh. Penny says, it's not up to you to decide if you're worth my time. It's my time, and I get to do whatever the fuck I want with it. Even spend it on a girl who threatens to bail all the time. Because guess what, Katie? I didn't think I was ever gonna fucking see you again. That puts shit in perspective. I love you, okay? Deal with it. Tearing out chunks of my hair over that. God, what a beautiful love confession. Beautiful, I say beautiful. I love it. I love it. Katie does not say I love you back, though. It is bad for me once again. But also, my sister in suffrage. It is fine. Take your time, queen. Right after this exchange happens, Quentin shows up where Penny and Katie are, and he's bleeding, and Penny is like, wait a minute, I'm a telepath. Something hinky is happening here. Katie is like, hey, Quentin, I'm really sorry, but we care about you, okay? And then she just clocks him and knocks him the fuck out so that his wards go down because he's not awake anymore. And she's like, Penny, read his thoughts. And Penny is so down stinky for this girl with a mean right hook. Penny is like, awooga? I mean, yes. He tries to incept Quentin, like, read his mind, and then he gets jump scared by Niff and Alice, who's still in there. He's like, Katie, Alice is in there. End of episode. Ooh, for a bad episode? Fuck, what a great episode. Season 2, episode 9. The Dean has locked Quentin in a cage. It's to, like, protect him from himself. You get the idea. Also, Josh is back. Shout out Josh. Missed you, queen. Turns out he has sexually transmitted lycanthropy. Would you believe that this is going to be a significant plot point later? So everybody and their fucking mother is like, Quentin, take Alice and put her in the fucking box. And he's like, but it's Alice. Don't care. I say lock her up twice. I say put her in the box and then smash the box. If it's Alice, cool, kill her. Also, the magic blackouts that were going on in Fillory are now beginning to affect Earth as well. So, like, the Fillorians are on a time crunch. Penny and Katie use the button to blip to Fillory. So, Elliot and Margot are prepping for war. One of the counselors suggests that Elliot do a one-on-one duel with King Idri instead, and it is my least favorite trope when this happens, when writers are like, we can't afford to do a full war sequence. Have them fight in the woods. Elliot is also, like, all for it because he thinks that King Idri is going to be, like, fucking ancient. He thinks he's gonna be, like, 60 or something, and Margot is like, are you sure? Katie and Penny in Fillory. Katie, Elliot is the king of all of this. Penny, yeah, in case you wanted more rock-solid proof that there's no justice in this world. Basically, Penny and Katie break into the dungeon and they rescue Julia because they found Renard's son. Also, shout out this line. When they break her out, Katie goes, Julia, why were you in here? And Julia's like, oh, I killed trees. that could talk. And Katie goes, there were trees that could talk here? And Julia just goes, not anymore. Funny show for funny people. Anyway, they blip out of Fillory to go find Reynard's son. Speaking of the son, it turns out that he is a senator. He is a senator at Congress. His name is like John Gaines. John Gaines. Basically, he doesn't know that he's magical. He doesn't realize that he's a god because he was an orphan. Why would he believe in magic? So he's not using magic per se, but because he's a demigod, he's just radiating it all of the time. So stuff just kind of like goes his way. Elliot's prepping for the duel, and Fen gives him a magical sword because remember, her father is famously a knife maker. And they, in later seasons, kind of start to reduce Fen down to that trait. Like, she gets to be really, really good with knives, and she has this like kind of weird like which I'm happy that they gave her a character trait. I do wish that they gave her 2. But she gives him this magical sword that is like enchanted to never lose a duel, which is good because it turns out that King Idri is like a really, really good swordsman. But also, there are still magic blackouts. Like, the magic might not fucking work. She also drops to Elliot that she's pregnant. Elliot promises to her that he's gonna try his best not to die. So we have like a nice little arc of Elliot finding something worth living for, so that's good. Margot is having a real with the sloth, because remember, there's a fucking talking sloth on the council, and Margot is basically like, hey queen, shit's kind of fucked, and you're the stone cold bitch of the council. What do we do? And Abigail and her translator basically say to make a deal with the fairies. So the sloth Abigail is like, you can make a deal with the fairies, but this should be like a last resort thing, because they suck and they are bitches. Yes, they can probably fix the wellspring if you ask them to, but like, Once Upon a Time style, all magic comes with a price. Like, they will want an arm and a leg for it. So like, only if we can't figure out how to do it ourselves. Okay. What I'm about to describe to you is fucking crazy. And it was the moment in The Magicians where I remember distinctly being like, I get it. Did it take like 1.5, 2 seasons to like really, really get there? Sure. But like, if you watch season 2, it is so fucking boring, and I was like, oh my god, this show is like maybe bad, like maybe this show fucking sucks, and it does not. It really doesn't, because what I'm about to describe is like so emblematic of like everything that like The Magicians becomes post this episode, basically, and that is the musical number. Elliot confides in Margot that he's really nervous about the duel, like he's beginning to kind of have some doubts, and to cheer him up, Margot enchants the entire court to do One Day More from Les Mis. Oh my god, hi! I didn't see you there. Sorry, I was just reading the Emily Wilson translation of the Iliad. Did you get your hands on it? No, didn't think so. Sorry, it's just been so long. So long that I have a different hair color now. Isn't that funny? We've got like 3 in this video alone. I've been recording since October. It's December. They sing Les Mis, One Day More. They go to war, to One Day More. And I know what you're asking, you in the audience at home. I know what you're questioning. Yes, Elliot was singing the Jean Valjean part. Curiously enough, it was actually Margot singing Cosette and Fen singing Eponine, which is a little bit spicy. Also, God bless her, Summer Bishel cannot sing. It was cruel that they put her next to Hale Appleman in that moment. Also, side tangent to all of that, the roommate who I originally started making this video series for has since I released my first video, run into Hale Appleman like 3 separate times on the street. Hale, if you're watching, I know that you are a New York theater girly. I am too. Let's connect. It's also worth mentioning that this is not like a musical where, you know, like we, the audience, can hear these people singing, but we understand that they are not. They pull up to battle with Loria, and the Lorians are like, I'm sorry. Did we need a number ready? So Elliot is like, okay, I'm ready. And then King Idri is like, yes, me too. And then he just sprints away. So Elliot is like, oh, I guess I won the duel? No. Turns out the duel is not finished until somebody's dead. So even though Idri like skirt skedaddled, it's not over. So Elliot just has to like chase after him. Low-key power move on King Idri's part. Quote me on that. So the Felurians are like posted up. Elliot and Idri ran off, so everybody's just kind of like chilling. Margot gets called away like halfway through the battle to go treat with the fairies. Back in Breakbills, they have John. Remember Senator John? They have him, and Reynard has begun talking in his head because, you know, Reynard also put the pieces together. So Penny and Katie are like, oh, okay, we'll bring you to the infirmary, yes? Meanwhile, Reynard himself is just posted up outside of Breakbills. He can't get through the wards, but he's just sat. He's like, come on out, son. Let's have a chat. Let's play catch together. I'm evil.
Do you have a baseball?
Which, this slips to Julia, who immediately goes on crazy girl shit. She's like, Reynard's here. Perfect. Time to make money moves. And Katie is like, or we can sit down and do breathing exercises. Has anybody counted to 10 today? Because of the magical blackouts, the wards glitch. The wards glitch and Reynard is like, what's this? A door? For me? So Reynard's on campus. Breakbill starts going ballistic. Everybody is like, we need to lock it up. Meanwhile, Julia is in the corner, like praying mantis rubbing her fingers together, evil eyebrow all the way to the gods. So some bullshit is about to happen. Circa Margot and the fairies, Margot and her fairy deal. Margot meets up with the ambassador of the Fae. He basically says that the fairies are willing to help fix the wellspring, but in exchange, they want Fen's baby. So Margot is like, hey Fen, I have a question. If I were to say that I were making a deal, and that deal would bring back magic and probably save Elliot, would you be okay? Even if I do something that maybe you don't like.
Not saying what necessarily.
But, you know, just in case, is that fine? And Fen is like, Margot, do literally whatever you want. I just want my family to be okay. And Margot says, thanks, queen. I'm taking that as verbal consent. So Margot is like torn up over what she has to do, but she decides to go through with this deal. Meanwhile, out in the woods, Idri and Elliot are like, fuck. Ugh. That was a lot of running. Neither of us are in great shape. And then they start flirting, and you're like, now wait a minute. We get some Phil-lore-y. Turns out the King of Fillory is a polygamous political position. There is maybe not expectation, but certainly an allowance for the High King of Fillory to have a wife and a husband. Yeah, we're getting a throuple. Yeah. So basically, Elliot is like, I am about to 4D chess this entire situation. Okay, we're on Breakbills now. It's a pretty desolate campus. Quentin is like, where the fuck am I? And then Julia is like, oh my god, slut, wake up. I have an idea. Come for a walk with me. Also, make a deal with Alice right now that she'll take over your body and kill Reynard. Basically, Julia softcore kidnaps Quentin, brings him outside, unbeknownst to him, and just puts him in front of Reynard. And she's like, hey, gay, hey, gay. She's like, hey, girl, you will survive. You just have to tell Alice that in exchange for killing Reynard, you'll set her free. Do that now.
Also, this man is going to kill you immediately, so you don't really have a choice.
My girl put this boy in a life or death situation and said, I dare you to take an L right now. Thank God that at the very last second, Julia and the senator show up and see Reynard, and fucking John Gaines is like, Dad, don't hurt these people. I want to go to fashion school. I'll leave with you, just don't hurt them. So John and Reynard blip out. Quentin is fine. Everybody is pissed at Julia. They lock Julia's ass up in the clean room from season 1, the one where you can't do magic. Thank God, about fucking time, I say. And, like, Katie in particular is, like, really, really torn up about this, because remember, she was, like, final Julia stan in the whole wide world. But, like, doing what she did to Quentin was objectively a bridge too far. So they locked Julia's ass up. In better news, the fairies fixed the wellspring, and also something may or may not be happening to Fenn's baby soon. Don't worry about that. Okay. Ooh. Final scene of the episode. Jason Ralph, once again, acting like the check was due. Acting like he needed to put dinner on the table that night. Like, he clocked in for this one. It's Jason Ralph, Quentin Coldwater in rando-ass parking lot, and he sets Alice free. He says, you know what? This isn't healthy for either of us. Quentin says go free. And then Alice, rocket blasts off. No more Niff and Alice plotline. Yes, finally. Freedom. Season 2, episode 10. I believe this episode is called The Girl Who Told Time, or something like that. We open on an alternate universe timeline. One of the several that were created when they were trying to stop the Beast. This is one of the ones where Julia got into Breakbills. This is where we find out that her concentration would have been knowledge. We then hard cut to Julia in wizard jail. It feels like maybe she got the worst end of this stick in this timeline. Like, let my girl live for 1 second. The dean shows up and he unlocks the door and he's like, man, I'm not running a fucking jail. This is a school. I can't keep you here. Girl, go. Penny and Katie will, like, have a conversation about this later that is so fucking funny, because Katie is like, oh my God, like, why would Fogg just let her go? And then Penny just goes, has nobody else noticed that Fogg is, like, really unhelpful? They kill me. They're so funny. Elliot is going full Bridezilla mode, being a monster planning this wedding, and Quentin is busy drinking himself into an early grave. We find out that in Fillory 3 months have passed since all of this happened, because remember, like, weird timeline stuff happens between Earth and Fillory. Remember, Elliot's trying to be a good king. He's trying to, like, listen to the people. After hearing a suggestion from the Foo Fighter prisoner, he decides to make the wedding a public event. And to, like, kind of distract Quentin, he asks Quentin to go back to Earth and get Josh so that Josh can cater the wedding. When he goes back to Earth, Josh gives him a weed brownie because he's a legend. And when I say weed brownie, I'm not talking like, whoa, everything's all swirly a little bit. I mean, he starts seeing into alternate dimensions. Quentin is tripping his balls off, and he sees this, like, fuck-ass Julia child, which we realize is Julia's shade. Remember, her moral compass. They are represented by child versions of the characters, because remember, our child is our moral center. Grow up. So it turns out that the shade is not destroyed, it's just kind of lost somewhere, and it, like, wants to be reunited with Julia. So there's, like, hope that we can fix Julia. Quentin brings Josh back to Fillory, and he's like, Elliot, I need to go back to Earth because, like, I need to go help Julia. And Elliot is like, that is okay. And also, did we not remember that she literally just tried to kill you? Jealous of the merch. I didn't see it. My roommate saw it. Okay, so back in the my favorite plot line, Penny and Katie get forcibly blipped into the library because remember, Penny started that contract to assist in rounding up expired books. And Katie is taking this opportunity to sort of tag along and see if she can get any information on God-killing magic. Also, Elliot touches base with Fen and he mentions the concept of a website to her. And she just goes, yes, those are the cities made of pixels, right? Quentin goes back to Earth to try to ask around about shades. And he bumps into Todd and Todd is high out of his fucking mind. And Jason, Ralph, Quentin just goes,
Oh my god, can you, fuck off, Todd?
Like, they hate this man so fucking much. It is so funny. But it's an important interaction because Todd reveals that he's been writing the dean's memoirs as his, work study for the semester, which is its own thing. But he's like, oh, you're looking for shades. The dean knows stuff about shades. Also, according to Todd and the dean's memoirs, Fogg and Bob Ross had a, quote, dark artistic rivalry. So that's fun. Basically, Quentin takes Julia, who is, at least a little apologetic right now, to go see Fogg, and the dean is like, okay, I don't know a lot about shades, but I know somebody who does, and that somebody is alternate timeline Alice. Whatever. So this is Alice 23. That's Alice from the 23rd timeline. Keep the concept of the 23rd timeline. Keep that number in your head because we are at some point or another going to see all of the fucking 23rd timeline bitches. And I really hate everyone from that timeline. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself, but Penny 23 becomes a very big character later on in the series, and I Penny 23 so fucking much. Anyway, in the 23rd timeline, the lore was that Alice was the only survivor of the beast, so she became obsessed with the afterlife, and specifically lost souls or shades. So we're expecting that the shades are maybe in the underworld. The Dean and Julia set to work building this thing called a Teslaflexion, which basically allows you to talk to somebody from another timeline for 2 to 3 minutes. So that's how they're going to get in contact with Alice. Meanwhile, Penny and Katie are hunting down this overdue book, and they pull up at what is not BuzzFeed, and they meet this bitch named Harriet, who I fucking love. Harriet is the coolest fucking character. Also, so Harriet is played by a deaf actress, and so she's signing the entire time, and she starts doing ASL, and Penny's like, whoa, 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 acting like she pulls out a gun because he thinks he's throwing a spell at him or something. And Katie is like, hey, can you not be ignorant for 1 fucking minute? And then she starts doing ASL, and I'm like, yes, Katie being my multilingual queen is so important to me. She's also fluent in Mandarin. By the way, we learned that earlier this season. Basically, Harriet and Katie are having this conversation that Penny can't understand. And they're maybe kind of keeping some stuff from him, but don't worry about that. Anyway, Harriet reveals that she's a hedge witch, and the website that she runs encodes really complicated magic into these websites in order to distribute it sort of on the down low. And Katie fucking rocks with that because she's like, yes, knowledge is being made accessible. Also, you're so cool. Also, I'm a hedge witch and I love you. And then in ASL, so that Penny can't hear, Harriet is kind of complaining about how the library is really classist and it can be really inaccessible to, hedge witches and lower level witches. And she also tells Katie that even though the library keeps going no, there's no way to kill a god, we don't have that kind of magic, Harriet is saying that there's no kind of magic that the library doesn't know about. She's basically telling Katie that the library is lying to her because they're a classist institution. Josh is in Fillory, and he realizes that there's going to be a coup. The whole, Foo Fighter, oh, just make the wedding, a public spectacle. That whole plot line was so that they could kill Elliot because they still hate him. Elliot is okay, let's round them up and do some public executions. I'm sick of this bullshit. And then Margot going X Games mode is like, no, let's do espionage. Let's let them think that we don't know what's going on. Which, again, big reversal for, like, the Margot-Elliot as rulers dynamic. Like, we are getting hints that maybe Margot is a better ruler than Elliot is. She's actually learning these lessons. Basically, the way their plan ends up working, and of course we don't see this on screen because that would require hiring extras and secondary locations, but their plan is to basically have Josh slip a potion into the Foo Fighters stew that will make them all Team Elliot. So they are kind of cheating the system by doing a little espionage, but I'm okay with it. I'm Team Elliot already. Penny blips back to the library with the book that he got from Deaf Queen Harriet, and he gives it to a different librarian to, like, shelve. That guy opens it and then immediately, like, offs himself. And the reason he gives is that he was put under a spell that was going to make him do something even worse. Whatever that means. We find out that the book was enchanted to make him go to this place called the Poison Room, which is where they keep all of the, like, nuclear launch code magic, if you know what I mean. Penny is, like, certainly pissed about this, because he watched a man off himself, and it was technically Harriet's fault. He's talking to Katie about this, and Katie's Team Harriet, and I have to stand Mother, unfortunately. Oh my god, because we have Harriet versus Zelda, MVM, Mother v. Mother, which is a joke that you will think is very, very funny in season 3, by the way. So, Penny and Katie will beef about this. Katie is siding with Harriet. She's like, I think information should be for everyone, and I definitely don't think it should be the library that gets to pick and choose who knows what. Meanwhile, Penny is like, no, I just watched a man off himself. Like, surely people are going to do bad things if they have spells like this. And I can see both sides of this argument. I tend to lean a little bit Katie, but I have a bigger question, which is why the fuck is Penny taking the library side? Why is Penny siding with the library? Listen, I get that they're employing you now. I get that you are on the clock, but the whole Penny character was like, fuck the system, I hate the system, wah, 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 the system. Why is he suddenly pro-system? I get that it's mostly because Penny and Katie need to have drama because we just finished the Alice and Quentin drama. And I know what you're thinking at home. You're thinking, oh, it's senseless drama that you're comparing to Alice and Quentin, so you're going to stop being so warm and loving to any Katie Penny scenes because they're going to get annoying. Wrong take on your end. You're incorrect with that. I'm still gonna fucking eat it up every time. And the reason that when Penny and Katie have an argument, I don't find it annoying is because I like them as characters. So you can write that down. Anyway, Katie is definitely pissed at Penny about this. She takes it really personally because when Penny is like, we can't just let anyone have these spells, she's like, oh, you're talking about me. I'm a hedge witch. I'm anybody. The Dean, Quentin, and Julia make the Teslaflexion. Quentin goes in, he sees Alice, blah, blah, blah. He's all sad because, like, it's his first time seeing Alice since he let Nif and Alice go, and this alternate universe timeline Alice. In her timeline, Quentin is dead, so they're both really excited to see each other because both of their first time seeing each other since the other died, basically. I will say, once again, Jason Ralph is acting his ass off. I don't know what producer walked up to him and was like, hey, Queen, you're going for the Emmy this year, right? But, oh my god, he's gunning for it. And for once in my life, I like a Quentin and Alice scene. I think it's because I know it will end. I think that it's very sweet. Mostly because Alice, for once, is, like, really broken up and, like, I miss you so much, like, I'm in love with you, I'm sorry I wasn't fighting for you hard enough in my timeline, and Quentin is, like, repressing his feelings because he needs this information out of her and they only have so long to get it, so he's like, yeah, I, like, get that, and also, like, where would I find a shade if I wanted to find one? solid Quentin and Alice scene. Basically, they get the information out of Alice. Shades are found in the underworld. The only way to get to the underworld is through a thing called a gatekeeper. Then she blips out before she can tell them what a gatekeeper is. Also, back in Fillory, Margot, Josh, Elliot are celebrating their win, their trickery of the people, their slight fascism arc, and Josh leaves and Margot is like, floating this really quickly, would it be weird if I fucked Josh? And Elliot is like, girl, I hope it would be weird if you fucked Josh. That is a surprise tool that's going to haunt us later. Also, while we're in Fillory, Fen is hearing the voices, seeing the visions. She keeps seeing fairies everywhere, and she's like, Margot, what the fuck is going on? And then she finds out that Margot basically sold her baby for magic, and she gets rightfully kind of pissed about that. But don't worry, Margot is like, I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for you like I'm the father. Episode 2, Season 11, we realize what a gatekeeper is. It's a dragon. It's totally a fucking dragon. Quentin and Julia go to meet the gatekeeper. It is a dragon that lives in the New York sewers, and it is called the Ancient One. They request passage to the underworld, and the dragon is like, okay, well, I need a special little trinket then.
Give me the Fillory button.
And Quentin is like, this is actually, like, my probably most prized possession in the whole wide world, because it's the only way that I can get to my childhood dream world. Like, it has a lot of, like, important significance to me. And the dragon is like, I don't care. I want a trinket. Give me a trinket. And Quentin is like, fine, here's your trinket. So it's a big deal. They end up in a sort of purgatory, which is modeled after, like, a hotel lobby. It's the waiting room for the underworld, basically. It's a rest stop for spirits to, like, kind of chill out before they officially pass on. The staff is also, like, really weird to Quentin and Julia when they show up, because they're like, hey besties, it says here that you guys have died 39 times. And the two of them are like, yeah, don't worry about that. We don't know too much about that either. Over in Fillory, Elliot's still on Bridezilla shit, although he's in a fit this episode. And Idri is like, girl, calm down. Take it sleazy. Like, relax. And then he gets turned into a rat. So that's weird. And this also happens to all of the Lorians. So that's not good. It actually looks really suspicious. Also, Fen is missing. And they think, like, she's probably a rat too. But Margot is like, yeah, no, she's probably a rat. It certainly has nothing to do with, fairy bullshit. Because why would the fairies be involved? Who made a deal with the fairies? No one would have done that. Yeah, Fen's probably a rat. Don't worry about that. Penny's in the library. He meets a 16-year-old named Sylvia, who is a hater. And irrelevant to me specifically. My best friend Katie, a legend, a superstar, and a global sensation. She and Penny are banging in the astral realm because it's the only place that they can meet up anymore, and I love that for them. She's been kind of pushing Penny to get into the poison room because she thinks that that's where they keep the god-killing magic, and she's like, hey, Penny, why don't you ask Zelda? Why don't you keep bugging Zelda? And Penny is like, I've tried asking Zelda. I don't know. She won't tell me anything. And then Katie is like, okay, well, why don't you try reading her book then? Everybody has a fucking book. Read her book. Blah, blah, blah. Also, John is working with Reynard now. Don't care. Didn't ask. Hate the Reynard plotline. Quentin and Julia are in the underworld, and they sneak to Elysium, which is where the shades are being kept. It's basically an orphanage that just has all of these, like, young, morally lawful good children running around, and they keep saying, like, oh, Our Lady isn't here, like, you know, we haven't seen her in some time, also we do miracles, we're like guardian angels. Ugh. If I went into a house full of 8-year-olds, I would not touch anything, for sure. While they're in the house, Julia sees a portrait, and she's like, who the fuck is that? And one of the kids is like, that's our lady. That's like the lady who is in charge of taking care of us. And Julia realizes that it's Our Lady Underground, which she starts putting two and two together. It's Persephone. The goddess Persephone, the ancient Greek goddess Persephone, is Our Lady Underground. And so Julia gets pissed because she's like, oh, you were real the entire time and you still didn't bother to, like, look for us. She thought that Our Lady Underground was just some trick that Reynard played on them, but no. Like, Persephone's real in this universe. She just wasn't listening. So Quentin and Julia find Julia's shade, but then, oh no, there's a second secret shade that's running around the house. It's Alice's. Again, Jason Ralph was told that he was under Academy Award Nobel Peace Prize consideration for this season. He is acting his ass off when he sees Alice's shade. It is so fucking adorable because it's just this little child and he's like, oh my god, this woman who I'm in love with, who was trapped in my mind and was just a being of pure fucking evil, there is something good in her left in the world, and it's in the form of an 8-year-old ghost. And this also has like crazy implications for the work that Quentin was doing to try to like uniffinify Alice, because he didn't realize that she was missing her shade as a Niffin, so it threw off all of his calculations. So now that he, like, could feasibly bring her shade back to, like, the real world, he might actually be able to, like, summon and humanify Alice again. So, like, he might be able to save her. The only problem, for whatever reason, they can only bring one of the little angel children, so it literally is choosing between Julia or Alice's shade. And Quentin is like, you know what? It's fine. Alice is dead. It's okay. I have moved on. It's fine. Let's just bring your shade back, Julia, because, like, you're here and you want to be better. And Julia's, like, about to let him go through with that, but then at the last minute, she's like, nope, Uno reverse, and then she brings Alice's shade instead. This is like be-all end-all shot. Like, they are not going back to the underworld after this. So Julia has basically sacrificed herself for Alice. It is like a big deal. It is a big plot point in the Julia redemption arc. And Quentin is like, no, go get your shade instead. But she's like, you know what? No, this is my one shot and I get to decide what to do with it. So it's like Julia's redeeming herself and Julia is taking back her control of her situation. It's very chef's kiss. Ugh, okay. Back in Fillory, everybody's scrambling because they just cannot for the life of them figure out who turned all of the Lorians and also maybe Fen into rats. So Elliot calls a council meeting of him, Margot, and like the members of the council, and he, quote, truthies them, which is to say he slipped truth serum into their drinks. So now he has all of them in his corner. Everybody starts spilling their guts. We find out that Tick Pickwick was embezzling funds on a massive scale. We find out that Abigail the Sloth and her little twink are, quote, using the palace guards to run an escort service. And then, gasp, Margot reveals that she made a deal with the fairies and that they probably have Fen. And Elliot does not take this well. He does not hear that Margot went behind his back and possibly got his wife and child, like, captured. He does not take that lying down. And on top of all of that, he's like, the only reason that we're even in this situation right now is because you made the decision to declare war on Loria. We are in this mess because of you, and you just keep making it worse. So Elliot sends Margot's ass to the dungeon. Yeah, this is our obligatory late season Elliot-Margot fight. After all of this, once they figure out how to start turning people back from rats, Elliot's talking to Josh, and Josh is like, hey buddy, you look terrible. You look like you're doing girl not okay right now. Do you have anybody helping you? And Elliot is like, no. So Josh is like, girl, you need to get help with that. You need to, like, get some governors to deal with, like, some of the small level shit. And Elliot is like, oh my god, I can also, like, just have the Fillorians vote on their governor so that they'll, like, actually like the people that are representing them. Josh, I'm about to invent democracy. And then He immediately gets blipped back to Earth, like mid-sentence. Not good. Abigail the sloth and her twink come up to Margot and they give her a potion that will transport her to the fairy realm. Don't worry about it. This is just so Margot can get to the fairy court. Also, not super important, but Senator John Gaines is like, wait a second, is Reynard evil? He goes to Breakbills, he goes to Katie, and he's like, we need to stop Reynard. And she's like, girl, obviously. Also, we find out that there might be some sort of beef between Reynard and Persephone, as in Our Lady Underground. Like, there's maybe more to their connection than just he was impersonating her. Keep an eye on that. Okay, season 2, episode 13. So Quentin and Julia go to Mayakovsky in Breakbills South. Even though that magic is getting better, it would still take like a lot of power to do the summoning ritual for Alice. And Julia is like, hey Mayakovsky, what's that in the corner? Turns out he's been making magic batteries, like that hold magic in them. And he's being like a freak and annoying about it. He's like, no, these are mine. Russian, remember? He's like, no, these are mine. Do not touch. And then Quentin like snaps at him. Quentin is mad. Because remember, Quentin found out that Mayakovsky is kind of the reason that what's-her-face, like, fucked up her face, which made Alice's brother turn into a Niffin to fix her, which, like, then sent Alice on the downward spiral. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is Quentin is, like, pissy at Mayakovsky, and he's like, no, this is your fault. This all started with you. You need to help us now. You need to make this right. And Mayakovsky is like, duh. Fine. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. They do the ritual. Alice is no longer a Niffin. Finally over this arc. I missed having her not on screen. And also she's pissed at Q, obviously. Of course, because why would they be happy together? Okay, Penny is talking to 16-year-old Sylvia. They're planning on getting into the poison room. They realize that the poison room is in another dimension, so they need to go to the Netherlands. Blah, blah, blah. Elliot also goes to Breakbills South. He wants to meet up with Quentin because he just got banished from his magical realm and he does not know why. So Elliot is like, okay, Quentin, like, it's fine. I remember in the books that, like, Ember and Umber would sometimes banish the Chatwins to Fillory. I just need to get back. It's fine. Can I have the button? And Quentin is like, the Fillory button. Yeah, that's not here anymore. And then Elliot is about to go like, and then Alice walks by and Elliot is like, what? Katie is also in Breakbills South because everybody's in Breakbills South right now. She and Julia have a confrontation because remember, Katie is like, no longer Julia stan number 1. Julia is basically like, hey, I have not been myself because I literally do not have a moral compass right now. Can you act as my moral center? Can you please act as my conscience? I promise I will listen. Katie is like, fine, whatever. They meet up with John. They discuss the fact that they think maybe Our Lady Underground and Reynard were lovers. Julia is like, okay, well, why don't we try to lure Reynard somewhere by, like, impersonating Persephone? Why don't we make him think that, like, Persephone finally returned so that he'll show up? And then once they have him, they're going to teach John a spell that would kill him. Alice is pissy Longstockings at Quentin right now, so he's not helping anybody by being at Breakbills South. So Elliot is like, okay, girl, you come with me. Why don't we give Alice a little bit of space? And also, please tell me that you're doing okay. Like, I'm sure it doesn't feel good that you spent all of this time and effort bringing Alice back and she's not even happy about it. Their new side quest is to go hunt down the Fillory clock from the first episode that is like a portal to Fillory. Do we remember this? The one with the ram horns on it? I told you it would become important later. But the Chatwins would use that as a portal into Fillory. So they're like, okay, maybe that still works. Maybe we can get back in through that. Speaking of Fillory, because there are no children of Earth left in Fillory, remember Margot's in the fairy realm and Elliot got forcibly ejected. Josh is the king now. Josh is the king of Fillory now, which is awesome. It's so cool. He's so cool. Terrible, terrible king. love what he did with the place. The first thing that he does is make a wizard bong and force every council member to smoke from it. That's my legend. In fact, he gets so high that he does that thing that Quentin was doing a few episodes ago where he starts seeing into alternate dimensions, specifically Margot's, because she's in the fairy realm. Basically, Margot and Josh get into conversation and she's like, Josh, get me the fuck out of here. Get me out of here. And Josh is like, okay, first of all, you could say please, to which Margot goes, I literally could not. Ugh, okay, back to the Sylvia plotline. Penny and Sylvia get into the poison room. Penny is like, what do you want from the poison room? Like, I'm here for God-killing magic. What do you want here? Sylvia lore drops that, you know how the library has a book for every single person? Everybody's life is written in a book. It turns out that every person that's currently living, the last 20 pages are just blank. Like, they just kind of cut off. And nobody at the library really knows why. So she's seeing if maybe there's something about that in the poison room. Also, because she's talking about having read a bunch of people's books to, like, fact check this, she mentions that she read Kanye's book and he was, quote, really misunderstood, which top 10 things that have aged like milk, Sylvia. So Quentin and Elliot are trying to track down this clock. They hunt it down. They find out it was purchased by some guy that turns out to be this like massive like fillery buff. Like he has a lot of memorabilia. And it's like kind of weird because remember Quentin is like #1 nerd in the whole wide world. So he's like going toe to toe with this guy. And some of the stuff that they're talking about is not stuff that you would just like know if you read the books, even if you were like a huge fan. So they're like, this guy maybe like went to Fillory, like maybe this guy like has been there, maybe he knows something. And he does, because he's not a guy. That's the god Umber. If we remember back to season 1, the Ember lore, remember the two twin gods of Fillory are Ember and Umber. Ember is a god of chaos and Umber is a god of like order and control. And the beast famously killed Umber, which is why Ember couldn't kill the beast and didn't even really want to, because he was like, oh, well, he already killed my brother. I don't stand a chance. Turns out the beast made a deal with Umber where Umber would fake his death so that he would like get to go live on Earth instead. So the beast might not have even been able to kill a god. So Umber is like #1 hater. He kind of hates his brother because remember he's like order and control and like Ember is an agent of chaos. He's not really like in a pro-Fillory mindset, but Elliot is like, no, like send me back to Fillory, let me fix it. And Umber is like, you're not supposed to fix Fillory. That's not why Ember brought you there. You were just supposed to be a little plaything. You can't fix Fillory. What Umber has been up to in his time on Earth is he's creating what he thinks is like a perfect world. Something that there is only order and no chaos. So Elliot is like, I just don't understand why I got booted out of Fillory. I don't understand what I did wrong. And Umber is like, you were just boring. You were just boring Ember. Like, he isn't trying to make a perfect society. He's just trying to watch drama, you know? First of all, Elliot gets so offended that Umber called him boring. It's very funny. But he also realizes that, like, Ember is the one that's been fucking with everything. He's probably the one that, like, turned everybody into rats. And once again, Quentin snaps off at Umber. He's like, you can't just leave this behind. You made this world. There are actual human beings that are on Fillory. Ember's treating them like playthings and you don't care, and that's not okay. Like, you have to clean up your mess. Oh, he's pissed this episode. I love it. It's just, it warms my heart so much that Quentin and Elliot are fighting so hard for Fillory when, like, at the beginning of the season, Elliot just wanted to, like, walk away. Ugh, okay, blah, 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 John plotline stuff. Whatever. Reynard, like, killed John's wife. I don't care. Anyway, John is, like, really, really mad at him, but he realizes that, like, he's probably not going to be able to, like, master magic fast enough in order to kill Reynard, like, in time for the plan to work. So he hypnotizes Katie into killing him so that when he dies, there's that, like, burst of magic that gets, like, expelled so that she can channel it into a weapon that will kill Reynard. Which, again, do not love the consistent theme of Julia and Katie's agency just being constantly taken away from them. I fucking hate that shit. Anyway, John's dead. Did you move? Did you clap? Didn't think so. Back in the poison room, Penny is beginning to sister suffer the consequences. The door gets locked somehow. I don't even think it's explained how it gets locked, but Penny is, like, really broken up because he can travel back to the Netherlands. He can't bring Sylvia with him. So it's rough. Anyway, he blips back to Breakbills, immediately passes out. Josh goes to the fairy realm. Also, the Lorians are maybe attempting a coup. Quentin goes back, meets up with Alice at Breakbills South. She's once again a little bit in her feelings, and he gives her a really, really nice pep talk where he basically says, like, I'm not sorry you're alive. I'm sorry that I hurt you, but I am absolutely not sorry that you're here. Very nice. Very cute. Good Quentin line. Okay, so the weapon that Katie and Julia got from John's magic is one magic bullet. They are literally bringing a gun to a magic fight. A magic god fight, mind you, but whatever. So they go to this, like, abandoned barn. They make a big lightning storm to, like, make it look like Persephone's coming back to Earth. He shows up. He's trying to find Our Lady Underground. They jump him. They use the same spell that the Beast did to freeze him earlier. So he's frozen in time, and they have magic gun pointed at him. And then guess who shows up before they can shoot him? The real Our Lady Underground, like actual goddess Persephone, shows up. Again, means that she could have at any time. And Julia is pissed. Julia is so mad at her. So Our Lady Underground sees Katie and Julia with magic gun pointed at Reynard, and she's like, spare his life. He's my son. Not lovers, familial. Basically, she's like, Julia, at the end of the day, it's your choice, but listen to me. You don't need to be evil like him. You don't need to kill him. So Julia, in the end, decides to choose mercy and goodness and not kill Reynard. Whatever. I'm sorry that I do not agree with this choice. I'm happy that Julia is allowed to keep her spark in life, but fucking kill him. Sorry. Am I allowed to say that? Murder is okay in this situation to me. So Our Lady blips herself and Reynard out, and Katie is so mad at Julia about this. She's so fucking mad. She's like, you had a chance to kill him and you chose not to. You chose not to. You let him live. And Julia is like, I know, but it was my choice. And at the very least, as a reward for sparing Reynard's life, Our Lady Underground leaves behind Julia's shade. So Julia has her conscience back. So at least something good came out of this. I'm still Team Katie, though. I agree with her. Reynard should have... Okay, season 2, episode 13. Alice is in quarantine in Breakbill South. I really don't care. Penny is, once again, Sister Suffrage, president of the struggle bus. He's in the magical ER, and they're like, oh, that poison room shit that's in his veins, that's Cancer Plus. Like, they refer to that in show. Cancer Plus. He's not doing okay. Katie comes to visit him in the magical ER, and she's, like, she tells him about the Reynard of it all. She tells him about, like, how Julia let him live. And beep. She's finally brave enough to, like, sit there and look at him, like, dying in front of her. And she goes, I don't want you to die. Which, yes. This is a very big, like, we all need to find the will to live season. Julia is also kind of Sister Suffrage in this moment. Remember, she just got her conscience back, so she's kind of feeling, like, all of her emotions at once right now. So she's not doing great. Elliot is sort of on Julia watch duty over in Julia's apartment, and he's being hashtag Akko Taco with her. He's like, this is a very nice lamp that you have. I love Rugs, this is great. How are you? She gives him her god invisibility amulet, the one that she got from the High Mage of Loria, so that he can go back to Fillory without Ember knowing. And Elliot is like kind of not feeling great about leaving her alone right now. And Julia's like, I just don't get why you care. I've tried to kill you guys. Like, I've fucked you guys over at every possible instance. Like, why do you care about me? And Elliot is like, I just do. And that's really sweet. That's very, very beautiful. I like that. Especially Elliot, the one that they were a little bit worried, who is gonna choose the sweet release of a coma for infinity, saying stuff like that. That's nice. That's nice. Glad Elliot has reasons to live and want others to live now. So, because he's, like, not feeling great about leaving her behind, he asks Julia to come with him to Fillory for the whole Ember plan. Meanwhile, Penny and Katie are like, what if we just fuck off to Tahiti? Yes? Because Penny's kind of, like, on the clock right now, you know what I mean? Katie is, like, very, very gung-ho about this. She's like, let's not waste any more time, like, doing our bullshit. Like, let's just fuck off. Like, please can we just, like, have at least, like, a nice week together? And Penny is like, I want to so badly, but if we don't save the world, who is going to? Like, Katie is in shambles right now. She's like, when do you get to be done? When is enough enough? Like, when do we finally get to have peace? And then Zelda blips Penny into the library to do some errands. Margot and Josh are in the fairy realm. They find Fen. She already had the baby. The fairies have the baby. Boom, they get intercepted and brought to the fairy queen, who is serving cunt. Ooh, the fairy queen is such a glam role. Candace Kane came, saw, and conquered in this role. She devoured them. She ate them the fuck up. So Margot is like also in shambles. Everyone's sort of in shambles. We're nearing the end of the season. Margot is like kind of complaining to the fairy queen. She's like, I just don't get what we did wrong. I don't understand why Ember is so fucking mad at us, why he's fucking with us so hard. And the fairy queen is like, girl, you have asked him to do so much for you, and he's gotten zero return on that investment. Like, just throw a party. Give him little cakes. Elliot is gathering the troops. He runs into Quentin, who's still in his feelings because of the whole Alice situation. And Elliot is like, hey, screwing up is inevitable. It's really, really hard. But when you agreed to be a king of Fillory, you agreed to prioritize Fillory above anything else. So we gotta go. Elliot Waugh, MVP of the episode. Hands down, easy money. Elliot Waugh, MVP of the episode. Elliot sends Quentin off to go treat with Umber and try and get him to help, like, fix Fillory because everything's kind of going to shit. But Umber is like, girl, I can't show up. They think I'm dead. Do you understand how pissed they're gonna be at me if I turn back up and reveal that I've been alive this entire time? And then he's like, wait a minute. Why don't you be the king of my new perfect world instead? Elliot flips back into Fillory. He confronts Idri and S. They're gonna go back to Loria and hold the fort there. Whatever. The Loria plotline really takes a back seat during the last half of the season. Margot and Josh also blip back from the fairy realm. Yay, the gang is reunited. Elliot is like, hey, how did you guys get back? Because it seemed like you might be stuck in the fairy realm. It looked like it was about to be rough. And then Margot, like, turns around and was like, there was a price for getting them to send us back. And the fairy queen took her eye. Like, Margot has eye patch now. Cunty eye patch, but eye patch nonetheless. Margot and Elliot apologize to each other, serving season 1, season finale again, whatever. But Margot does cry, which is like a big deal for her, you know, because she's like queen of like no fucks given at any point ever. So her crying is like a big thing. And like, they're okay, but it is definitely giving like, it's not the same, and let's definitely not pretend like we're where we were. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're fine, but they're definitely not great. So Team Fillory's plan is that they're going to throw a massive rager, because Ember loves a party and he loves a show. So they're like, okay, let's like throw a big ball. Let's do something really decadent and like, let's entertain him. Let's make our case for why we should like stay in charge of Fillory, why Ember shouldn't just like scrap the whole realm. And it's like looking a little bit touch and go for a second. Like they kind of throw a bad party. It's just a little bit lame. But thank God Ember shows up at the last minute. Yay, yay, yay. And they start pleading their case to him and it kind of looks like it's going to work. And then they mention Umber. And that's like a big no-no. That was not the right move. Meanwhile, Quentin is in the Umber pocket dimension. The world that Umber created is held in a physical snow globe. Think Horton Hears a Who. It's giving Whoville. And it's just like, it's like weird and uncomfortable and everything is really symmetrical and like the pasta's really bland and like you get the point that they're making with Umber as the only god there. Like it's just too boring. But rest easy. Through some very secret fuckery, Julia actually swiped the little snow globe that the pocket dimension is in while Umber and Quentin were like in it, and she brought it with her to Fillory. So now they're there. So she smashes the snow globe, pops them back out in the throne room where Ember is. Ember realizes that Umber was faking his death. Gagachandra. This family reunion does not go well, obviously, because Umber is pissy at Ember for being like a fuck ass, and then Ember is pissed at Umber for faking his death, arguably the larger crime. And in a moment of like big boy rage, Ember ends up killing Umber. And remember how we learned earlier this season, like an episode ago, that when a god or demigod dies, their essence needs to be trapped in something and can be like harnessed for a weapon? Yeah, that's right. Julia pulls out a sword. Boom. New god killing weapon on the table. It turns out this was their plan all along. They weren't trying to treat with Ember. They're gonna try to kill him because he's too unpredictable. Julia gets her awesome fucking final girls moment. She's like, I've met scary gods. You are not one of them. Kill his ass, I say. And then she misses. Sword goes to Quentin's hands. Turns out Quentin also gets to be final girl and kill Ember, which is fun because remember, Quentin is Miss Fillory 101. Hell yeah, kill him, kill your childhood, kill it. Also, like, this means that Quentin finally gets to be the one that saves the world, you know, because Ember was like gonna destroy Fillory, let's be real. So you get a like little bit of a time jump to kind of get the come down for what was going on. Elliot and Margot are currently making a Fillorian constitution. They have decided that they want to be good rulers. Glad that somebody finally made that decision. Penny is still Sister Suffrage, read the poison room. It's getting stalled because the library is outside of space and time. So anytime that Penny's working at the library, he's okay, but anytime he comes back to Earth, he starts like deteriorating again. So it's okay, but it's not great. Katie meets up with Harriet, DEFCON 1. She says that in exchange for finding something that will help Penny, she will take any information about the library that she hears from him and pass it Harriet's way. Very, very season 1 Katie behavior. Quentin goes to see Alice, and he just gives her this, like, fuck-ass plate of bacon, and he's just like, this is what being a human is all about. Eating bacon nasty style. And, like, whatever, it works. It makes her want to live again. She's like very much serving Umber in this moment. She's like, wow, 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 bacon's so greasy, bacon's so yucky, I feel like a pig. And Quentin is like, that's what being human is. He's like wiping her hands in a very Pride and Prejudice manner. And he's like, I don't know why all of these little compassions feel so good. They just do, because, like, we're people. Oh my god, and then they kiss and they bang, and it's like, whoa, I thought we were doing little compassions, guys. So, they're sitting in post-nut clarity, and Quentin is like, yeah, also we killed Ember and Umber. And Alice is like, no, bad. She's basically like, you fucked up big with that one. That was the wrong decision. Well, she was a Niff and she saw like the big picture, you know? She was like zoomed out to infinity. And she's like, Quentin, you fucking dumbass. Ember and Umber were like low-level gods. They have parents. They have people who care. People who care, like the plumber. There is this like weird man walking around in a suit through Breakbills, and he has a little wrench, and he just magically opens this like mystery box and just turns off magic. He basically turns off the wellspring, like its distribution. So no more magic. As punishment for killing Ember and Umber, they turn off magic. We get a 2-month time jump again. It's not good. They're still trying to like learn magic at Breakbills, but they can't actually do it. So it's all just theory right now. And they're all like, well, we just have to hope that it comes back. We have to hope that like something happens. But until then, we just have to do what we can. Fillory is like also not doing great because it famously ran on magic. Margot is once again giving like, we need to rule Fillory. We need to martial law this place because it's gonna get bad really quickly. And Elliot is like not super into that. And then boom, out of nowhere, Fen shows up looking a fucking wreck. Sister Suffrage back on the scene. She's like, yo, I had to trade my physical toes, my toesy woesies. I had to give them to the fairies so that I could get back here because we need to talk. She's like, they're coming. They being the fairies. The fairies are pulling up to Castle Whitespire en masse, like fuck-ass Bob Brigade in tow. And they're probably gonna take the castle because magic is so weak. The way that it works in Fillory is that magic is a thing that humans can use, but magical creatures, like, they're their own beast. So the fairies still have magic, the Fillorians don't. So, final scene of the episode. Quentin is smoking a sexy French Depression cigarette because he's lost his glimmer and spark and twinkle because no more magic. And he's like, Julia shows up and she's like, hey buddy, first of all, let me get a hit of that. Second of all, I have something to show you. She like sits down and she starts like doing little hand motions and Quentin is like, dude, I applaud the effort, but like be fucking for real right now. Like we just don't have magic. Like you have to accept that it doesn't work anymore. And then he looks and she is doing magic. She can like create a spark. She has like something glowing between her hands, which is crazy because magic is turned off. And not only that, she doesn't know why she can do magic. And that's the end of season 2. Y'all, I hate this season. Season 2 is the worst season of The Magicians. Easy, easy money. If you want my quick ranking of Magician seasons, it's 2, 5, 1, 4, 3. It's in that order. Write that down. I do not enjoy season 2. I think that it is by far the worst season. But I did this so that we can get to something very important and dear to me, which is season 3 of The Magicians. Everybody, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you sat through all of this, you deserve a little treat. You should absolutely go buy yourself a little drinky drink or snacky snack, because you deserve it, queen. You watched me talk about a show and a season of that show that I don't even really enjoy. And you listened, and that's great. That's beautiful. Yeah, I'll see you for the next one, I guess. Happy holidays.